Under the rain, a millionaire collapses in tears in the middle of the street, drowned by longing for the son he lost to distance and justice. A street girl approaches, extends a piece of bread, and asks with innocence, "Do you also cry from hunger?" The question cuts through his pain like a blade and begins a journey that reveals a secret he never imagined. In attempting to comfort an unknown child, the man discovers the daughter he always searched for, right there before his eyes. The Seattle rain washed down on Ethan Harrison's expensive suit as he stood motionless on the sidewalk, his eyes fixed on the puddles forming at his feet. His smartphone buzzed incessantly in his pocket, no doubt his executive assistant frantically trying to reach him. The board meeting, the most crucial of his career, had started 15 minutes ago. As the founder and CEO of NexusPay, one of the fastest-growing financial technology companies in the Pacific Northwest, his absence was inexcusable. But today, Ethan couldn't bring himself to care. 1 year. Exactly 1 year since he had last seen his son's face. The bitter custody battle with his ex-wife Victoria had ended with her taking their 8-year-old son Noah to London for what was supposed to be a temporary relocation. The international custody case had dragged on with no resolution, tangled in a web of legal complexities and jurisdictional disputes. Every video call was supervised and cut short. Every promise to visit was postponed with flimsy excuses. The rain mingled with the tears on his face as he leaned against a lamppost, his breathing ragged. The weight of his grief felt physical, crushing his chest and making each breath painful. His thumb swiped absently across his phone screen, landing on the last photo he had of Noah, gap-toothed smile, eyes squinting in the summer sunshine at the beach, ice cream dripping down his small fingers. "Mister, are you crying because you're hungry too?" The small voice cut through Ethan's fog of despair. He looked down to find a girl, no older than 7, staring up at him with large, concerned eyes. Her dark hair hung in damp tangles around a thin face. Her clothes, mismatched and too large for her small frame, were worn but relatively clean. In her outstretched hand was a small piece of bread, slightly squashed but offered with unmistakable sincerity. "No," Ethan managed, quickly wiping his face. "I'm not hungry." The girl tilted her head, studying him with a wisdom that seemed out of place in one so young. "But you're sad. My mom says bread helps when you're sad." She pushed her offering toward him again, more insistently this time. Ethan felt something shift inside him. This child with nothing was offering him her food. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily," she said, then added proudly, "I'm 7.5. "Well, Lily, thank you for the bread, but I think you need it more than I do." He crouched down to her level, noticing the smudges of dirt on her cheeks and the way she shivered slightly in the cool autumn air. "Where's your mum?" A shadow passed over the girl's face. "She went away. The nice lady at the shelter said she had to go get better, but I didn't like it there, so I left." Alarm bells rang in Ethan's mind. "You're on your own? How long have you been out here?" Lily's small shoulders lifted in a shrug. "Since the leaves started falling. I know all the good places now." She said this with a hint of pride, as if her survival skills were an accomplishment worth noting. "I know where to get food and where to sleep when it rains." The implications hit Ethan like a physical blow. This child had been surviving on Seattle's streets for weeks, maybe months. As a father, the thought was unbearable. "Do you need to go somewhere?" Lily asked suddenly, interrupting his thoughts. "You look like the men in the big buildings. They always look busy." Ethan's phone buzzed again, reminding him of the meeting he was missing. A meeting that would decide whether NexusPay would receive the venture capital needed for international expansion. His career, everything he'd built, hung in the balance of that boardroom. "Yes," he admitted, "I need to get to my office. It's the NexusPay building on 5th Avenue, but I know a shortcut." Lily's face brightened with unexpected enthusiasm. "The big blue building with the funny shape? I can show you. The rain makes the cars go slow, but I know the fast ways." Before Ethan could respond, she had tucked her bread into a small, tattered backpack and grabbed his hand with surprising confidence. "Come on, we can go through the park and the alley behind the coffee place." Feeling oddly compelled, Ethan let the small girl lead him. They ducked through a narrow passage between buildings that Ethan, despite living in Seattle for 15 years, had never noticed. Lily navigated the urban landscape with the expertise of a native guide, pointing out loose grates to avoid and taking covered walkways whenever possible. As they moved through the city, Lily chattered, her voice a counterpoint to the drumming rain. "My mom worked in a big building too. She cleaned it at night when everyone was sleeping. She would tell me stories about the fancy rooms and the pictures on the walls." "What happened to your mom, Lily?" Ethan asked carefully as they cut through an empty playground. The girl's pace slowed slightly. She got sick after eating special chocolates. A lady in nice clothes gave them to her. Then men in white coats took her away to get better. Lily's voice dropped to a whisper, but she didn't come back. The story sounded disjointed, filtered through a child's understanding, but something about it raised the hairs on the back of Ethan's neck. "Do you remember when this happened?" "After my birthday. I had just turned 6, and Mum promised we'd go to the Space Needle, but then she got the chocolates and she started acting funny. She couldn't remember things and she was scared all the time. Then the men came. They emerged from an alley and suddenly the gleaming blue glass tower of Nexus Pay headquarters loomed before them, the company logo illuminated despite the grey day. "That's it," Lily exclaimed. "See? I told you I knew the way." Indeed, their journey had taken less than 15 minutes, about half the time the gridlocked traffic would have required. Ethan checked his watch. He was 30 minutes late for the meeting, but not catastrophically so. He could still salvage this. But what about Lily? He couldn't just leave her on the street. The thought of this small child returning to whatever makeshift shelter she'd found for herself was unthinkable. "Lily, would you like to come inside with me? It's warm and there's food. After my meeting, maybe we could talk more about your mum and see if we can find her." Lily's eyes widened. "Inside the blue building, really?" Then her expression faltered. "But fancy places don't let people like me in. The security man at the mall always makes me leave." Ethan felt a surge of protectiveness. "You'll be with me, and it's my building. No one will make you leave." He squeezed her small hand reassuringly. "And afterward, I promise we'll have lunch. Any kind you want." "Pizza?" Lily asked hopefully, revealing a gap-toothed smile that reminded Ethan painfully of Noah. "Absolutely. Pizza with everything on it." As they approached the revolving doors of Nexus Pay Tower, Ethan felt an odd sense of purpose that had been absent just 30 minutes ago. His grief over Noah remained, a constant ache in his chest, but something about Lily's resilient spirit and unexpected kindness had pierced through his despair. The security guard at the front desk did a double-take as Ethan Harrison, CEO and founder, walked in with a bedraggled child in tow. "Mr. Harrison, the board is waiting in the Azure conference room. Ms. Blackwell has been trying to reach you." "Thank you, Jim. This is Lily, my guest for the day. Could you ask Amanda to come down and look after her while I'm in my meeting? And maybe find her some dry clothes and something to eat?" Jim blinked but recovered quickly. "Of course, sir." As they waited for the elevator, Lily stared in wonder at the soaring atrium with its hanging art installations and flowing water feature. "It's like a magic castle," she whispered. The elevator doors opened, revealing a woman in her early 30s with curly red hair and a tablet clutched to her chest. "Ethan, thank God you're here. Catherine is about to—" Amanda Cooper, Ethan's executive assistant, stopped mid-sentence when she noticed Lily. "Amanda, this is Lily. She's going to be staying with us today. Could you look after her while I'm in the meeting? Get her some dry clothes, something to eat?" To her credit, Amanda absorbed this unusual request without missing a beat. "Of course." She knelt down to Lily's level. "Hi there. I'm Amanda. Are you hungry? We have a cafeteria with just about everything." Lily looked up at Ethan uncertainly. He nodded encouragingly. "It's okay. Amanda is my friend. I need to go to my meeting now, but she'll take good care of you. And I'll come find you as soon as I'm done. Then we'll have pizza, just like I promised." After a moment's hesitation, Lily slipped her hand into Amanda's. "Do you have hot chocolate?" "The best hot chocolate in Seattle," Amanda assured her with a warm smile. As the elevator doors closed behind them, Ethan took a deep breath and steeled himself for the confrontation he knew awaited him on the 40th floor. Catherine Harrison, his stepmother and NexusPay's formidable CFO, would be furious about his tardiness. The board members and potential investors wouldn't be pleased either, but for the first time in a year, Ethan felt something other than crushing grief. A small, homeless girl had shown him more compassion than he'd experienced in months, offering her only food to a stranger in pain. Whatever happened in the boardroom today, he knew one thing with certainty: he would help Lily find her mother. The elevator climbed swiftly toward the executive floors, where the fate of his company waited to be decided. But in Ethan's mind, another promise now took precedence. A promise made to a 7-year-old girl who had nothing yet had given everything. The doors opened to the 40th floor, where floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the Seattle skyline, currently shrouded in mist and rain. His executive team stood in a tense huddle outside the conference room. At their center, radiating cold fury, stood Catherine Harrison. "Nice of you to join us, Ethan," she said, her voice like ice. "The people who hold the future of your company in their hands have been waiting for 30 minutes. Ethan straightened, his rain-dampened tie. "Then let's not keep them waiting any longer." Catherine Harrison had always been a commanding presence. At 62, her silver hair was cut in a severe bob that framed sharp features and penetrating gray eyes. As the widow of Ethan's father and the company's chief financial officer, she wielded considerable influence both within NexusPay and the Harrison family. "You look like you've been swimming in Elliott Bay," she remarked coldly, eyeing his damp suit. "And who was that child I saw you with in the lobby? Really, Ethan, bringing street urchins into a corporate headquarters on the day of our most important investor meeting?" "Not now, Catherine," Ethan replied, keeping his voice level. "The investors are waiting." Inside the Azure conference room, 12 people sat around a gleaming table that afforded views of Puget Sound. Ethan recognized representatives from Pinnacle Ventures and Horizon Capital, two of the largest venture capital firms on the West Coast. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay," Ethan began, sliding seamlessly into his role as confident CEO. "Seattle traffic combined with this weather can be unpredictable." Over the next 2 hours, Ethan presented NexusPay's vision for revolutionizing digital banking security through advanced biometric authentication. His team showcased their proprietary technology, demonstrated impressive growth metrics, and outlined their expansion strategy. Despite his personal turmoil, Ethan's passion for his company's mission shone through, captivating the potential investors. By the meeting's end, tentative handshakes and promises of term sheets suggested that NexusPay's Series C funding round would be successful. As the investors filed out expressing their enthusiasm, Ethan felt a momentary surge of professional satisfaction, but his thoughts quickly returned to Lily, waiting somewhere in the building. "That was surprisingly competent, considering your state this morning," Catherine remarked, lingering after others had left. "Though I notice you avoided mentioning the Westlake partnership delay." "It wasn't relevant to today's discussion," Ethan replied, gathering his materials. "The integration issues will be resolved by next quarter." Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Now, about that child. Please tell me you've already called social services." "Her name is Lily, and no, I haven't." "For God's sake, Ethan, you can't bring homeless children into a corporate environment." "What were you thinking?" "She helped me when I needed it," Ethan said simply. "And she's looking for her mother. I promised I'd help her." Catherine's laugh was brittle. "Is this about Noah? You can't replace your son with some random street child." The comment struck like a physical blow, but Ethan kept his expression neutral. "I'm not trying to replace anyone, but I'm not going to abandon a 7-year-old girl to the streets either." "Fine, have your little humanitarian moment. I'll call Maureen in HR to handle the situation properly." Catherine reached for her phone. "No." Ethan's voice was firm. "I'll handle it personally." Something flashed in Catherine's eyes. Concern, perhaps, or calculation. "You know nothing about this child. She could be anyone with any kind of background. This is a publicly traded company, Ethan. We have responsibilities, reputations to maintain. I'm aware of my responsibilities, Ethan replied, moving toward the door, including those that have nothing to do with stock prices. He found Amanda and Lily in the company cafeteria. The transformation was remarkable. Lily wore clean clothes, likely from the company's merchandise shop downstairs, her hair combed into neat braids. She sat before an empty hot chocolate mug and a half-eaten sandwich, chatting animatedly with Amanda. And then the butterfly landed right on my hand. Mom said it was magic, but really, butterflies just like bright colors, and my mittens were orange. "That sounds wonderful," Amanda was saying, her expression genuinely interested. She looked up as Ethan approached. "How did it go?" "We got the funding," Ethan said, but his attention was on Lily, who beamed at him. "Amanda made my hair pretty, and I had hot chocolate with marshmallows and a turkey sandwich." The girl's enthusiasm for these simple comforts tightened Ethan's throat. "You look very nice," he agreed, taking a seat. "Lily, I want to help you find your mom. Can you tell me more about her? What's her name?" "Elena Rodriguez," Lily answered promptly. "She's the prettiest mom ever, and she sings songs in Spanish when she tucks me in." Amanda's eyes met Ethan's over Lily's head. Lily was telling me about her mom going away after eating some chocolates that made her sick. "The lady in the fancy suit gave them to her as a present," Lily elaborated. "Then Mom started forgetting things and getting scared. The doctors said she had to go to a special place to get better." "Do you remember who the lady was? The one who gave your mom the chocolates?" Ethan asked carefully. Lily's brow furrowed, in concentration. "She was old but pretty. She wore shiny earrings that looked like raindrops, and she smelled like flowers, the purple kind. The description was childlike but oddly specific. Lavender was Catherine's signature scent, and she always wore diamond teardrop earrings." "What happened next, Lily?" Amanda prompted gently. "The nice men in white coats came and said Mom needed special medicine. They took her away in a car with flashing lights. The lady told me Mom was very sick in her head and needed doctors to help her think right again." Lily's voice quavered. "Then different people came and took me to the children's place." "A shelter?" Ethan asked. Lily nodded. "There were lots of kids, but the grown-ups were mean. They yelled all the time, and they wouldn't tell me when Mom was coming back." Her small face hardened with remembered determination. "So I left. I'm good at hiding and finding places. Mom taught me our address and phone number, but when I went home, different people lived there. They said they didn't know any Elena." The pieces of Lily's story painted a disturbing picture. Mental illness, institutionalization, child services involvement, but something about it didn't add up. Why would a random woman give Lily's mother chocolates? And why would Elena Rodriguez suddenly develop symptoms severe enough to warrant emergency psychiatric intervention? "Lily, do you remember when all this happened? Was it a special day or a holiday?" "It was after my birthday in April. The flowers were starting to grow." Lily thought for a moment. "The calendar in our kitchen had a picture of baby animals. Spring then, about 6 months ago." "What about your dad? Is he around?" Lily shook her head. "I don't have a dad, just me and Mom." Amanda's phone buzzed. She checked it and frowned. "Catherine's asking for you in her office." She lowered her voice. "Urgently." Ethan sighed. "I'll be right there." He turned to Lily. "I need to go talk to someone, but I'll be back soon. Then we'll get that pizza I promised. Is it okay if you stay with Amanda a little longer?" Lily nodded, but her expression had grown wary. "Is it the flower lady? The one who's mad?" The question caught Ethan off guard. "Why do you ask that?" "Saw her when we came in. She looked at me like I did something bad." Lily traced a pattern on the table with her finger. "She looks like the lady who gave Mom the chocolates." A chill ran through Ethan. "I'm not sure," he said carefully. "But I'll be back soon, I promise." As he rode the elevator to the executive floor, Ethan's mind raced. The coincidences were too numerous to ignore. Catherine wore lavender perfume and diamond teardrop earrings. She had reacted with unusual alarm to Lily's presence. And if Lily's timeline was correct, her mother had disappeared around April. The same month Nexus Pay had begun preparing for its IPO. Catherine's office occupied the northeast corner of the 40th floor, with panoramic views of the city and Mount Rainier beyond. She sat behind her desk, her posture rigid, fingers steepled before her. "Close the door, Ethan." He did so, then remained standing. "What's so urgent, Catherine?" "I've been getting concerning reports about your behavior today. First, you arrive late to the most important meeting of the quarter, soaking wet and emotionally distraught. Then you bring a homeless child into our headquarters without any regard for security protocols or liability issues. Now I hear you're interrogating this child about her mother instead of contacting the proper authorities." Catherine's tone was measured, reasonable. "I'm concerned about your judgment." "My judgment is fine," Ethan replied evenly, "and my behavior today has no bearing on the company's operations." "Doesn't it? You're the face of Nexus Pay, Ethan. Your actions reflect directly on this organization and everyone in it." She sighed, softening her approach. "I understand today is difficult for you. The anniversary of Noah's departure, it's bound to stir up emotions. But you can't allow personal issues to cloud your professional responsibilities." The mention of Noah was a calculated move, designed to redirect Ethan's focus, but this time it didn't work. "Interesting that you mention responsibility," Ethan said, maintaining eye contact. "Lily just described someone who sounds remarkably like you giving her mother chocolates before she was institutionalized for sudden onset mental symptoms." Catherine's expression didn't change, but her hand moved almost imperceptibly to straighten an already perfect stack of papers. "I have no idea what you're talking about. Children make up stories, Ethan. Surely you know that from raising Noah." They also noticed details adults overlook, like diamond teardrop earrings and lavender perfume. A flicker of something. Surprise? Concern crossed Catherine's face before her mask of composure returned. "This is absurd. You're allowing yourself to be manipulated by a child's fantasy. Maybe there's something you're not telling me." Ethan stepped closer to the desk. "Did you know Elena Rodriguez?" "I don't have time for this nonsense." Catherine stood abruptly. "I have a quarterly finance review in 10 minutes. I suggest you contact social services about the child and focus on our upcoming board presentation." She gathered her tablet and a folder. "And Ethan, I say this with genuine concern. Perhaps you should consider talking to someone about how you're processing your grief over Noah. It's affecting your judgment." With that parting shot, she swept from the office, leaving Ethan with more questions than answers. His phone buzzed, a text from Amanda. "Lily wants to see the view from the big windows. Okay to bring her to 40th floor?" "Yes," he replied. "I'll meet you by the elevators." Moments later, the elevator doors opened to reveal Amanda and Lily. The girl's eyes widened at the spectacular vista of Seattle spread before her. "Wow. You can see everything from here." She pressed her hands against the glass, transfixed by the city sprawling below. "I bet you can see all the way to the moon at night." "Almost," Ethan smiled, her childlike wonder momentarily pushing aside his troubled thoughts. "Come on, I'll show you the helicopter landing pad. On clear days you can see Mount Rainier." As they rounded the corner toward the eastern side of the building, they nearly collided with Catherine, emerging from the executive conference room, with several finance team members. Time seemed to slow as Catherine and Lily locked eyes. The girl froze, her small body tensing like a cornered animal. Catherine's reaction was equally telling. A flash of recognition followed immediately by alarm. "That's her," Lily whispered, shrinking back against Ethan's legs. "The flower lady who gave Mom the chocolates." Catherine recovered quickly, her professional mask sliding back into place. "Ethan, this is highly inappropriate. The quarterly review is confidential, and you've brought an unauthorized visitor to the executive floor." "Lily is with me," Ethan replied, placing a protective hand on the girl's shoulder. "And she seems to recognize you, Catherine. Isn't that interesting? I've never seen this child before in my life." Catherine's voice was ice. To her colleagues, she added, "Please continue to the financial planning room. I'll join you momentarily." As the others departed, awkwardly avoiding eye contact, Catherine turned back to Ethan. "This has gone far enough. Call social services immediately or I will." Lily's grip on Ethan's hand tightened. "She's the one," the girl insisted, her voice small but certain. "She gave Mom the special chocolates, and then Mom got sick in her head." Catherine's laugh was brittle. Children and their imaginations. Really, Ethan, encouraging these fantasies is irresponsible. "I don't think she's imagining anything," Ethan said quietly. "What I can't figure out is why my stepmother would have any connection to a cleaning woman and her daughter." Something shifted in Catherine's eyes, calculation replacing denial. "Fine. You want the truth? I do recognize her. Her mother worked for the company's janitorial service. There was an incident. The woman was caught in restricted areas multiple times, photographing sensitive documents. When confronted, she became erratic, threatening. She was removed from the building and, I assume, received the mental health intervention she clearly needed." The explanation was smooth, plausible, and entirely at odds with Lily's version of events. "That's not true," Lily cried, tears welling in her eyes. "My mom never did anything bad. She just cleaned and told me stories and made sure I did my homework." Catherine's smile was cold. "Children rarely see their parents clearly, do they? Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual corporate responsibilities to attend to." She turned to go, then paused. "Oh, and Ethan. The board would be extremely concerned to learn their CEO is entertaining conspiracy theories from a homeless child, instead of focusing on our upcoming IPO. Something to consider." With that threat hanging in the air, she strode away, leaving Ethan, Amanda, and Lily standing in the hushed corridor. "She's lying," Lily whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Mom would never do anything bad. She made me promise to always tell the truth, even when it's hard." Ethan knelt to Lily's level, gently wiping away her tear. "I believe you, Lily, and I promise we're going to find out what really happened to your mum." Amanda touched his shoulder, her expression troubled. "Ethan, Catherine has a lot of power in this company. If she feels threatened, I know. The stakes had just become much higher than a simple missing persons case. Whatever the truth was, Catherine Harrison was determined to bury it, and she had the resources and influence to make that happen." But as Ethan looked into Lily's hopeful eyes, he knew he couldn't walk away. Not from this child who had shown him kindness when he needed it most, not from the mystery of her missing mother, and not from the growing suspicion that his own family might be responsible for separating a mother from her child, just as he had been separated from his son. "First things first," he said, forcing a cheerfulness he didn't feel. "I believe I promised someone pizza." Lily's smile returned, tentative but genuine. "With everything on it?" "Everything," Ethan confirmed, rising to his feet. "And while we eat, we can make a plan to find your mom." As they headed back toward the elevators, Ethan caught a glimpse of Catherine watching them from the end of the corridor, her expression unreadable. Whatever game she was playing, he was now determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost to himself or Nexus Pay. The neighborhood pizzeria 2 blocks from Nexus Pay Tower was a haven of normality after the tension of the executive floor. Lily sat in a red vinyl booth, her legs swinging freely, eyes wide at the enormous pepperoni, mushroom, olive, and bell pepper pizza before her. For a moment, she was just a regular 7-year-old girl, delighted by the simple pleasure of a hot meal. "This is the biggest pizza ever," she declared, carefully selecting a slice loaded with toppings. Amanda smiled across the table. "Better. Eat up before it gets cold." Ethan watched Lily take an enormous bite, tomato sauce smearing her chin. The contrast between her current joy and the seriousness of her situation weighed heavily on him. If Catherine was somehow involved in her mother's disappearance, the implications were staggering. "Lily," he began gently, after she'd devoured half her slice, "I want to help find your mom, but I need to understand more about what happened. Can you tell me about the day she disappeared?" Lily chewed thoughtfully, then took a sip of her chocolate milk. "It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were pancake days, but Mom didn't make pancakes that morning. She was acting funny, like she couldn't remember how to turn on the stove. And this was after she got the chocolates?" Lily nodded. "The flower lady. Your mum." "My stepmother," Ethan corrected automatically. "She came to our apartment the night before. Mom was surprised to see her. They talked in the kitchen while I watched cartoons, but I could hear them. The lady said Mom had done a good job finding important papers, but now she needed to forget about them. She gave Mom a fancy gold box of chocolates as a thank you present. Ethan and Amanda exchanged glances. This contradicted Catherine's story about Elena being caught photographing documents. Instead, it suggested Catherine had deliberately sought Elena out. "Did your mom eat the chocolates that night?" "Uh-huh. She let me have one too, but I didn't like it. It tasted funny, so I spit it out. Mom ate 3. Lily's expression grew troubled. After that, she started acting scared. She kept saying, "They're watching us and we need to hide." She put tape over our computer camera and wouldn't let me turn on the lights. In the morning, she couldn't remember my name. The description sounded like paranoid delusions or the effects of some kind of drug. "What happened next?" Amanda prompted softly. "Mom tried to take me to school, but she got lost. We always take the bus on 4th Street, but she kept walking in circles. Then she started crying in the middle of the sidewalk. People were staring. That's when the ambulance came." "Did someone call the ambulance?" Ethan asked. Lily nodded. "The flower lady. She showed up in a black car and told people she was Mom's friend. She called the ambulance on her phone. The doctors asked Mom questions, but Mom was too confused to answer. They said she needed to go to the hospital." "And what about you? What happened to you?" "The flower lady said I could stay with her until Mom got better, but then different people came, a man and a lady in suits. They said they were from child services and I needed to go with them. The flower lady seemed happy about that." Lily's voice grew smaller. "They took me to Evergreen Children's Center." Ethan had heard of the place, a state-run facility with a mixed reputation. "How long were you there?" "Until the leaves started changing colors. The people there were mean. They wouldn't tell me about Mom or when I could see her. One lady, Ms. Parsons, was nice sometimes. She let me call our apartment once, but different people answered. They said they didn't know Elena Rodriguez." "How did you leave the center?" Amanda asked. A flicker of pride crossed Lily's face. "I'm good at hiding. Mom taught me to be brave and smart. One day during outside time, I hid in the delivery truck. When it left, I jumped out. I've been taking care of myself since then." The matter-of-fact way she described her escape and subsequent homelessness made Ethan's chest ache. This resilient child had been surviving on Seattle's streets while he had been drowning in self-pity over Noah. "You've been very brave," he told her, "but you don't have to do this alone anymore. We're going to find your mom." "Really?" Hope and skepticism mingled in Lily's expression. "But the flower lady is your mom. Won't she be mad?" "Catherine is my stepmother, not my mother. And yes, she'll be mad. But that doesn't matter." Ethan's resolve hardened. "What matters is finding the truth and reuniting you with your mom." Amanda leaned forward. "Ethan, if Catherine is involved in this somehow, you're talking about going up against one of the most powerful women in Seattle tech. She could make things very difficult for you, and for Nexus pay." "I know." Ethan met her concerned gaze. "That's why I need your help, Amanda. You've been with me since the beginning. I trust you more than anyone else at the company." Amanda's expression softened. "Of course I'll help. What's the plan?" Ethan considered their options. "First, we need to verify Lily's story. If Elena Rodriguez worked for our janitorial service, there should be employment records. We also need to find out where she might have been taken for psychiatric treatment." "I can access the vendor contracts," Amanda offered. "All cleaning staff would be documented for security clearance." "Good. I also want to talk to someone at Evergreen Children's Center. If Lily was placed there officially, there should be records. Mom has a friend named Rosa at our church," Lily volunteered, reaching for another pizza slice. "She might know something. She used to watch me sometimes when Mom worked late." "That's excellent, Lily. Do you remember which church?" "Santa Maria on Beacon Hill. It has blue windows and a big cross on top." Ethan made a note on his phone. "We'll start there tomorrow. For tonight." He hesitated, realizing he hadn't thought through the immediate logistics. "She can stay with me," Amanda offered without hesitation. "I have a spare bedroom in my apartment." Lily looked uncertainly between them. "Can't I stay with you?" "She," asked Ethan. "You said you'd help me find Mom." "I will help you," Ethan assured her, but my condo isn't really set up for visitors right now. In truth, his once immaculate penthouse had devolved into a shrine to his absent son, with Noah's toys untouched and Ethan often sleeping on the couch rather than in his empty bed. Amanda has a nice place, and I'll come see you first thing tomorrow morning. Lily seemed to accept this, though reluctance showed in her posture. Promise you won't disappear too? The question pierced Ethan's heart. I promise. In fact, he pulled out his business card and wrote his personal cell number on the back. This is my phone number. If you need anything at all, you can call me, any time, day or night. Lily took the card, reverently, tracing the embossed Nexus Pay logo with her small finger. Okay. After finishing their meal, they caught a rideshare to Amanda's Fremont apartment. Ethan helped them get settled, ensuring Lily felt comfortable in the cheerful spare room decorated with Amanda's college travel photos. He promised to return at 8 the next morning to begin their investigation. As he turned to leave, Lily surprised him with a fierce hug, her thin arms wrapping tightly around his waist. Thank you for believing me, she whispered. Ethan hugged her back, startled by the surge of protectiveness he felt. We'll find her, Lily, I promise. The ride back to his Lake Union penthouse gave Ethan time to think. Catherine's apparent involvement in Elena Rodriguez's disappearance made no sense. Why would Nexus Pay's CFO take a personal interest in a night cleaner? What important papers had Elena supposedly found? And most disturbingly, had Catherine somehow drugged Elena to induce psychiatric symptoms? The questions tumbled through his mind as he entered his silent, spacious condo. The place felt even emptier than usual after a day spent with Lily's vibrant presence. He poured himself a glass of bourbon and carried it to his home office, determined to start his own investigation immediately. First, he searched Nexus Pay's employee directory for Elena Rodriguez. No results. Not surprising if she'd worked for a contracted cleaning service rather than directly for the company. Next, he logged into the corporate vendor management system, scrolling through active service providers until he found Cleanscape, janitorial services. The contract had been renewed annually for the past 5 years, most recently just 2 months ago. Ethan downloaded the security clearance documents, which included a roster of all Cleanscape employees authorized to work in the building. Scrolling through the list from 6 months ago, he found it. Elena Rodriguez, night shift supervisor, cleared for floors 1 to 38, excluding executive levels and secure server rooms. So Lily's mother had indeed worked in the building. That part of the story checked out. Next, Ethan searched Seattle news archives for any mention of Elena Rodriguez around the time Lily had indicated, April of this year. Nothing relevant appeared. He expanded his search to include reports of psychiatric emergencies, ambulance dispatches, and involuntary commitments in the Seattle area. The results were too numerous and vague to be helpful without more specific details. His phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Lily's settled in. Loves bubble bath and borrowed my Seattle Mariners t-shirt to sleep in. Asked for a nightlight. Sweet kid. Ethan smiled, relieved that Lily was safe and comfortable. Thanks, Amanda. See you both at 8. He was about to set his phone down when it buzzed again, this time with an incoming call from Catherine. Ethan hesitated, then accepted the call. It's late, Catherine. What do you want? To talk sense into you before you do something regrettable. Her voice was calm, measured. I understand you've taken a special interest in this child's story. Your compassion is admirable if misplaced, but pursuing this matter could have serious consequences for you, for the company, and for our IPO. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. We're weeks away from going public. Any scandal, any hint of corporate impropriety could tank our valuation and destroy everything you've built. What exactly are you worried I might find, Catherine? A pause. Nothing, because there's nothing to find. The child is clearly confused, possibly traumatized by her mother's mental health crisis. Continuing to indulge her fantasies is irresponsible and potentially harmful to her, to you, and to Nexus Pay. I found Elena Rodriguez in our vendor security clearance files. She worked here just as Lily said. Another pause, longer this time. I never denied that. As I told you, she worked for our cleaning service and was removed after being found in restricted areas. What happened to her afterward is hardly our concern. It became our concern the moment her 7-year-old daughter ended up homeless on Seattle's streets. Catherine's sigh was audible. Your preoccupation with this child is becoming unhealthy, Ethan. Is this really about her, or is it about Noah? Because using this unfortunate situation as a proxy for your own parental grief won't help anyone. The manipulation was so transparent that Ethan almost laughed. Nice try, Catherine. But this isn't about Noah. It's about a little girl who recognized you as the last person to see her mother before she mysteriously lost her mind. Care to explain that? Children fabricate stories to cope with trauma. Any child psychologist will tell you that. Catherine's tone hardened. I've tried to be patient with you, Ethan, but my patience has limits. Drop this misguided crusade and focus on what matters, our company's future. Otherwise, I may need to raise concerns about your fitness for leadership with the board. You do. What you feel is necessary, Catherine, so will I. Ethan ended the call before she could respond. The threat was clear. Catherine would use her considerable influence with the board to challenge his position if he continued investigating Lily's claims. As the company's founder and majority shareholder, Ethan's position wasn't easily threatened, but Catherine had been cultivating relationships with board members and investors for years. She could certainly make things difficult, especially on the eve of their IPO. None of that mattered, though. The determination in Lily's eyes when she spoke of her mother, the conviction in her voice when she identified Catherine, Ethan believed her. And if Catherine had somehow orchestrated Elena Rodriguez's disappearance, Ethan would find out why, regardless of the professional consequences. His laptop pinged with an incoming email. Amanda had forwarded him Elena Rodriguez's employee file from Cleanscape's records along with a note. Found this in the vendor database. Thought it might help. The file contained basic information. Elena's employment dates, hired 3 years ago. Position, night shift supervisor. Performance reviews, all excellent. And a scan of her driver's license photo. Ethan studied the image carefully. Elena Rodriguez had the same heart-shaped face as her daughter, with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. According to her file, she was 32 years old, a single mother, and had no disciplinary issues until her abrupt termination. In April, for unauthorized access to restricted areas and erratic behavior. The timing aligned with Lily's account, but something still didn't add up. Why would a cleaning supervisor with an impeccable 3-year employment record suddenly start accessing restricted areas? And why would Catherine Harrison personally deliver chocolates to her apartment? Ethan scrolled further through the file and froze when he reached the emergency contact information. Listed under relationship to employee was the word father, but the name field was empty. Elena had apparently never provided her child's father's name to her employer. A theory began forming in Ethan's mind, one so outlandish he almost dismissed it immediately. But once the thought took hold, he couldn't shake it. What if Elena's connection to Nexus Pay went beyond her employment with the cleaning service? What if her access to important papers had revealed something Catherine desperately wanted to keep hidden? On impulse, Ethan opened his photo browser and found the image of Elena from her driver's license. Then he opened a family photo taken at his father's funeral 5 years ago. He compared Elena's face with his father's, looking for any similarity in their features. The exercise felt absurd. His father had been faithful to Catherine, as far as Ethan knew. They'd had what appeared to be a solid marriage for over 20 years. Still, something nagged at him. He couldn't dismiss the possibility that Lily's situation and his own family might be connected in ways he hadn't yet discovered. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Amanda. Found something interesting in Lily's backpack while helping. Her unpack. A photo of her with her mom and a man whose face is scratched out. Asked her about it. She says she doesn't know who he is, but her mom kept it hidden in a book. Sending you a pic now. Moments later, the image appeared on Ethan's screen. It showed a younger Elena, with her arm around a small toddler who was clearly Lily. Beside them stood a man whose face had been deliberately scratched off the photograph, but part of his sleeve was visible, and on his wrist, Ethan could make out the edge of a distinctive watch, a vintage Patek Philippe with a custom band, identical to the one his father had worn every day for 30 years. The watch Ethan had inherited after his father's passing. Ethan's hands trembled as he set down his phone. The implication was impossible to ignore, yet equally impossible to believe. Could Lily Rodriguez be his half-sister? And if so, had Catherine orchestrated her mother's disappearance to prevent this family secret from coming to light, just as Nexus Pay prepared to go public? The bourbon forgotten, Ethan turned back to his computer with renewed purpose. This was no longer just about helping a homeless child find her mother. It was about uncovering a truth that might shatter everything he thought he knew about his family and his company. Sleep eluded Ethan that night. He paced his penthouse, mind racing with implications of what he'd discovered. The watch in the photo couldn't be conclusive proof. Patek Philippe made thousands of watches, after all. Yet the coincidence seemed too significant to dismiss. By dawn, he'd formulated a plan. He would need help, someone with investigative skills and discretion. After a quick shower and change of clothes, he made a call to Jackson Miles, a former FBI agent who now ran a private investigation firm that Nexus Pay occasionally used for enhanced background checks on high-level hires. Miles Investigations, answered a crisp voice. Jackson, it's Ethan. Harrison, I need your help with a sensitive personal matter. Today, if possible. 2 hours later, Ethan arrived at Amanda's apartment building in Fremont. Before he could ring the bell, the door opened to reveal Lily, dressed in new clothes, jeans, and a purple sweater that Amanda must have purchased the night before. Her hair was neatly brushed, and she wore a hopeful expression that tightened Ethan's chest. "You came back," she exclaimed, as if she'd half expected him to disappear. "I promised I would," Ethan reminded her gently. "Are you ready to go find your mom?" Lily nodded solemnly. "Amanda made pancakes. She puts blueberry faces on them. Do you want one?" "I'd love one." Ethan followed her inside, where Amanda stood at the kitchen counter, flipping a pancake that indeed had blueberries arranged in a smiling face. "Morning," she greeted him. "Coffee's ready, milk and sugar on the table." The domestic scene felt surreal after the revelations of the night before. Ethan accepted a mug of coffee and watched as Lily carefully carried her plate to the table, the picture of an ordinary child on an ordinary morning. "I've set up a meeting with Jackson Miles," he told Amanda quietly while Lily ate. "He's a private investigator, I trust. We're meeting him at 9 at Santa Maria Church, where Elena's friend Rosa might be found." Amanda nodded. "I did some digging last night. There was no official record of Elena being admitted to any psychiatric facility in King County under her own name. Either she was never formally admitted or she was admitted under a different name," Ethan finished, which supports the theory that someone deliberately orchestrated her disappearance. "I also called a friend who works at Child Protective Services. She's checking if there are records of Lily's placement at Evergreen Children's Center." Amanda glanced at the girl, lowering her voice further. "Ethan, if what Lily says is true, if Catherine was involved in separating them, this goes beyond unethical. It could be criminal." "I know." Ethan sipped his coffee, thinking of the photo with his father's watch. "There's something else I need to tell you." Before he could continue, Lily appeared at his elbow. "I'm finished. Can we go find Mom now?" The urgency in her voice reminded Ethan of the human stakes in this increasingly complex situation. Whatever his suspicions about Lily's parentage, the immediate priority was reuniting a child with her mother. "Absolutely. Let's go." Santa Maria. Catholic Church sat on a hill in Beacon Hill, its modest stone facade and blue stained glass windows visible from blocks away. As they approached, an elderly woman was sweeping the front steps, her silver hair tucked beneath a colorful headscarf. "Rosa!" Lily broke away from Ethan and Amanda, running toward the woman. "Rosa, it's me, Lily!" The woman looked up, her weathered face transforming with shock and joy. "Dios mío, Lily!" She dropped her broom, opening her arms as Lily crashed into her embrace. "¿Dónde has estado, mi niña? We've been so worried." Ethan and Amanda approached more slowly, giving them a moment for their reunion. Rosa held Lily at arm's length, examining her with tears in her eyes, speaking rapidly in a mixture of English and Spanish. When she noticed the adults, she pulled Lily protectively closer. "Who are you? What do you want with Lily?" "I'm Ethan Harrison, and this is Amanda Cooper. We're trying to help Lily find her mother, Eleanor." Rosa's expression shifted from suspicion to cautious hope. "You know where Elena is?" "No, but we're trying to find her. Lily says you're a friend of her mother's. We hoped you might have information that could help us." Rosa studied them carefully, seeming to make a decision. "Come inside, it's not good to talk about such things in the open." She led them through a side door into the church's small community hall, where folding tables were set up for what appeared to be an upcoming community meal. After settling Lily with paper and crayons at one of the tables, Rosa gestured for Ethan and Amanda to join her in a corner. "I haven't seen Elena in months," she began, her accent thickening with emotion. "She disappeared in April. One day she was fine, working her job, taking care of Lily. The next, I get a call from the hospital saying Elena had some kind of breakdown and was being transferred to a psychiatric facility. When I tried to visit, they said no visitors were allowed. When I called again later, they said no patient by that name was there." "What about Lily?" Amanda asked. "They told me child services had taken her to a proper facility. I tried to offer to care for her myself. I've known Lily since she was a baby, but they said it was already arranged." Rosa's eyes flashed with anger. "I went to the police, but they didn't take me seriously. Said Elena probably had mental health issues I didn't know about, that the professionals were handling it. I kept trying to find them both, but it was like they vanished." "Do you know which hospital Elena was initially taken to?" Ethan asked. "Northwest Memorial. I spoke with a nurse there who remembered Elena. She said Elena was confused, paranoid, not making sense, talking about conspiracies and being watched. It wasn't like her at all. Elena was always so level-headed, so strong. This aligned with Lily's account of her mother's sudden behavioral change after eating the chocolates. Did Elena ever mention having problems at work, maybe finding something she shouldn't have?" Rosa hesitated. "A few weeks before she disappeared, Eleanor was upset about something. She wouldn't tell me details, just that she had found papers in an executive's office that troubled her. She said she was trying to decide what to do about it." "Did she say which executive?" "No, but..." Rosa glanced at Lily to ensure she wasn't listening. "Elena was worried it might affect Lily somehow. She became very protective, wouldn't let Lily out of her sight. It was strange." A new voice joined their conversation. "Excuse me, I believe you're waiting for me." Ethan turned to see Jackson Miles standing in the doorway, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his 50s, with close-cropped grey hair and observant eyes that missed nothing. "Jackson, thank you for coming." Ethan made quick introductions. "Rosa was just telling us about Elena Rodriguez's disappearance." "I've started preliminary research based on what you told me on the phone," Jackson said, pulling out a small notebook. Elena Rodriguez, 32, single mother, worked for Cleanscape Janitorial at Nexus Pay Tower. Reported to have experienced a psychiatric episode in April of this year, initially taken to Northwest Memorial Hospital, then transferred to an unknown psychiatric facility. Her daughter Lily was placed in state care but subsequently ran away. Is that the situation? That's the outline, Ethan confirmed, but there are complications. There always are. Jackson turned to Rosa. Ma'am, in the weeks before Ms. Rodriguez disappeared, did she mention anyone taking a special interest in her? Perhaps someone from Nexus Pay Management? Rosa thought for a moment. She mentioned an older woman who sometimes worked late in the executive offices. Eleanor said the woman watched her unusually closely. Once Eleanor found her going through Eleanor's cleaning cart, as if looking for something. Did she give a name? I don't remember, but Elena said she was very important in the company, always perfectly dressed with expensive jewelry. Jackson made a note. And did Elena ever mention having a relationship with anyone at Nexus Pay? Perhaps years ago? The question caught Ethan by surprise. He hadn't shared his suspicions about Lily's parentage with Jackson. Rosa's eyes widened slightly. Elena was very private about her past. She came to Seattle when she was already pregnant with Lily. I know there was a man, someone wealthy, I think, but she never spoke of him. She kept a photo, though. I saw it once when I was helping her move apartments. A man in an expensive suit standing with her. His face was scratched out. Jackson's gaze flicked to Ethan briefly. Interesting. What about medical records? Do you know Elena's doctor, or where Lily was born? Dr. Patel at Community Health on Madison. She's been their doctor for years. Lily was born at Swedish Medical Center. Jackson noted this information. That gives us a starting point. Ms. Cooper, you mentioned checking with Child Protective Services about Lily's placement. Any news there? Amanda shook her head. My contact is still looking. The system can be labyrinthine. Indeed. Well, I suggest we divide and conquer. Jackson closed his notebook. Shall visit Northwest Memorial to track Elena's transfer, then check with Dr. Patel about her medical history. Mr. Harrison, perhaps you and Miss Cooper should take Lily to Evergreen Children's Center. Someone there might remember her, which could help establish a timeline. I can come with you, Rosa offered. They know me at the center. I volunteered there before the pandemic. As they discussed logistics, Ethan noticed Lily watching them intently from her table, crayon suspended mid-air. Her expression was a mixture of hope and apprehension. A child old enough to understand that adults were discussing her, fate but too young to fully grasp the complexities involved. Lily, he called, come here for a minute. She approached cautiously, sidling up next to Rosa for security. We're making a plan to find your mum, Ethan told her. We're going to visit the children's center where you stayed, and Mr. Miles is going to check the hospital. Is that okay with you? Lily nodded solemnly. Will the mean people at the center make me stay there again? Absolutely not, Ethan assured her. You're with us now, and no one is going to take you away. Promise? I promise. The fierceness of his response surprised even him. Lily seemed satisfied with this and returned to her drawing. As the adults finalized their plans, Ethan's phone buzzed with an incoming call from Catherine. He declined it, only for a text to appear moments later. Board emergency meeting called for 2 p.m. today. Your presence required. Do not ignore this. Ethan. A chill ran through him. Catherine was making her move faster than he'd anticipated. Everything okay? Amanda asked, noting his expression. Catherine's called an emergency board meeting for this afternoon. I need to be there. She's trying to distract you from the investigation, Amanda said. Or worse. I know, but I can't ignore a board. Summons without risking my position, and I need my authority as CEO intact if we're going to get to the bottom of this. Ethan checked his watch. It's just past 9 now. Let's stick with the plan. Visit Evergreen this morning. I'll have to leave for the board meeting by 1:30, but you and Rosa can continue with Lily. What about Catherine? Amanda asked quietly. If she's behind Elena's disappearance, she must realize we're investigating. She does. She called last night to warn me off. Ethan's jaw tightened. But she doesn't know how much we've already pieced together, or that we've involved Jackson. Let's keep it that way as long as possible. The drive to Evergreen Children's Center took them through South Seattle. Lily grew increasingly quiet as they approached, her small body tensing when the institutional building came into view, a square brick structure surrounded by chain-link fence. We don't have to go in, if you don't want to, Ethan told her. We can find another way to get information. Lily shook her head, her jaw set in determination that reminded Ethan startlingly of his own father. I want to help find Mom. Inside, the center smelled of industrial cleaner and cafeteria food. Children's artwork adorned the walls, an attempt to soften the institutional atmosphere. At the front desk, a tired-looking receptionist barely glanced up from her computer. Can I help you? Rosa stepped forward. Good morning, Alice. It's Rosa. Diaz from Santa Maria Church. We used to bring Christmas gifts for the children, remember? The receptionist looked up, recognition dawning. Oh, yes, Ms. Diaz. It's been a while. Yes, too long. I'm here with friends about a former resident, Lily Rodriguez. She stayed here earlier this year. Alice's gaze traveled to Lily, who partially hid behind Ethan's legs. I remember her. Quiet girl, kept to herself. Ran away a few months back. We filed the reports, but... She shrugged, the gesture conveying volumes about overworked staff and limited resources. We're trying to locate her mother, Elena Rodriguez, Ethan explained. We understand Lily was placed here after her mother was hospitalized in April. We're hoping to see her file to better understand the circumstances. Alice's expression became guarded. Files are confidential. I can't release that information without proper authorization. I understand, but this is a special circumstance. My name is Ethan Harrison. I'm the CEO of Nexus Pay, and we have reason to believe there may have been irregularities in how Lily and her mother were separated. The mention of his company and position had a visible effect. Alice straightened in her chair. Mr. Harrison, I'm not authorized to... Is Ms. Parsons still working here? Lily interrupted, stepping forward. She was nice to me. Alice hesitated. Yes, Sarah Parsons is our case manager. She's here today. Could we speak with her? Amanda asked. She might remember details about Lily's case. After a moment's consideration, Alice picked up her phone. Sarah, there are some people here asking about Lily Rodriguez. Yes, the one who ran away. Actually, she's with them. A pause. Okay, I'll send them back. She hung up and pointed down a hallway. Room 114. Ms. Parsons will see you. Sarah Parsons was a warm-eyed woman in her 40s who broke into a genuine smile when she saw Lily. There you are. We were so worried when you disappeared. She knelt to the girl's level. Are you okay? Have you been safe? Lily nodded, though she kept close to Ethan. I'm helping them find my mom. Miss Parsons glanced up at the adults, her expression a mixture of relief and confusion. I'm glad to see Lily is safe, but I'm not sure I understand the situation. You are... After introductions and a brief explanation, Ms. Parsons invited them into her small office. Children's drawings covered the walls, and resources for foster families filled a bookshelf. Lily's case was unusual, she began once they were seated. Most of our placements come through standard channels, court orders, documented family situations. But Lily arrived with minimal paperwork, just an emergency placement order signed by a Judge Hendricks. Was there any documentation about her mother's condition? Ethan asked. Zan Parsons shook her head. Just that she'd been committed to psychiatric care for paranoid delusions and was unable to care for her child. No facility was named, no diagnosis specified. I tried to get more information. It's important for children to understand what's happening to their parents, but hit walls at every turn. Did anyone come to visit Lily during her stay? Amanda asked. Just once. A woman in her 60s, very well-dressed. She said she was from the hospital where Elena was being treated and wanted to check on Lily's adjustment. Ms. Parsons frowned. I found it odd, as hospital staff don't typically make such visits. When I asked for her credentials, she became evasive and left rather abruptly. Ethan and Amanda exchanged glances. Could you describe this woman? Ethan asked, though he already suspected the answer. Elegant, silver hair, designer clothes. She wore distinctive earrings, diamonds in a teardrop shape. Catherine. She had been monitoring Lily personally, ensuring the separation from Elena remained intact. But why? Did Lily receive any communications from her mother during her stay? Letters? Phone calls? None. I found that concerning enough to make inquiries. Ms. Parsons lowered her voice. I called every psychiatric facility in the area. None had a patient named Elena Rodriguez. I was preparing to escalate the matter when Lily disappeared. You didn't report your concerns. Ms. Parsons looked uncomfortable. I did file an internal inquiry. The next day I was informed by my supervisor that the case had been reviewed and was being handled appropriately at a higher level. I was explicitly instructed to drop the matter. That's highly unusual, Rosa commented. Yes, it is. Miss Parsons looked troubled. In 15 years of social work, I've never encountered a case with so little transparency. I was relieved when Lily escaped in a way. Something felt wrong about the whole situation. Ethan checked his watch, nearly 11:30. Miss Parsons, would you be willing to put your observations in writing? It could be important for reuniting Lily with her mother. Of course, I've been hoping someone would finally investigate this properly. She turned to Lily with a gentle smile. I'm so glad you found people to help you, Lily. You're a very brave girl. As they prepared to leave, Miss Parsons hesitated, then reached into her desk drawer. There's one more thing. The day before Lily left, she drew this picture in art therapy. I kept it, hoping someday it might help. She handed Ethan a crayon drawing of 3 figures. A woman with long dark hair labeled Mommy, a small girl labeled Me, and a tall man in a blue suit with no face, labeled My Real Daddy. Ethan stared at the drawing, his throat tight. Thank you, he managed. This could be very helpful. Outside in the parking lot, Ethan's phone buzzed with a text from Jackson Miles. Northwest Memorial confirms Elena Rodriguez was admitted on April 15th, diagnosed with acute psychosis, and transferred within 24 hours to private facility. Transfer. Authorized by Dr. Westlake, who coincidentally resigned from hospital staff 1 week later and now practices in Zurich. Meeting Dr. Patel at 1 p.m. Will update. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture more disturbing than Ethan had imagined. Someone, presumably Catherine, had gone to extraordinary lengths to separate Elena from Lily and erase all traces of their connection. The question remained, why? His phone buzzed again. Another message from Catherine. Your absence from headquarters this morning has been noted. The board is concerned about your recent erratic behavior. I strongly suggest you return immediately and prepare for the 2 p.m. meeting. Ethan tucked his phone away, his resolve hardening. I need to get back to Nexus Pay, he told the others. Catherine's moving against me with the board. What should we do? Amanda asked. Continue the investigation with Jackson. I'll handle Catherine and the board. He knelt to Lily's level. I have to go to a meeting, but Amanda and Rosa will stay with you. We're getting closer to finding your mom, I promise. Lily's eyes searched his face. The flower lady is going to be mad at you, isn't she? Because you're helping me? Probably, Ethan admitted. But that's okay. Sometimes doing the right thing makes people angry. Lily considered this, then reached into her small backpack and pulled out a slightly crumpled paper. The drawing she'd been working on at the church. I made this for you, she said, offering it solemnly. For good luck at your meeting. The crayon drawing showed 2 figures holding hands, a tall man in a suit and a small girl with pigtails. Above them, written in careful child script, were the words, "Thank you for helping find my mom." Something caught in Ethan's chest, a fierce, protective feeling he'd previously experienced only with Noah. Thank you, Lily. This is perfect. He carefully folded the drawing and placed it in his jacket pocket, close to his heart. I'll keep it with me. As he drove toward Nexus Pay Tower, Ethan's mind raced with strategy. The board meeting was clearly Catherine's attempt to undermine him, possibly even remove him from leadership. She didn't know how much he'd discovered, but she clearly felt threatened enough to make a bold move. What Catherine didn't realize was that Ethan no longer cared about Nexus Pay the way he once had. The company had been his life's work, his refuge, after Victoria took Noah away. But meeting Lily had shifted something fundamental in his priorities. The possibility that she might be his half-sister, his father's secret child, changed everything. Whatever happened in the board meeting, Ethan was now committed to one goal above all others: finding Elena Rodriguez and uncovering the truth about her connection to the Harrison family, even if it cost him his company. Nexus Pay Tower gleamed in the midday sun as Ethan pulled into his reserved parking space. The familiar sense of pride he usually felt upon seeing the company logo had been replaced by grim determination. If Catherine was planning a corporate coup, he needed to be prepared. In the executive elevator, Ethan reviewed what he knew. Elena Rodriguez had discovered something in the executive offices, something significant enough that Catherine had orchestrated her removal and institutionalization. Lily had been placed in state care, where Catherine had personally checked on her. And there was the photo with his father's watch, suggesting a relationship that predated Lily's birth 7 years ago. The elevator doors opened onto the 40th floor, where Melissa Chen, Nexus Pay's general counsel, stood waiting. Her usual composed expression was replaced by concern. "Ethan, where have you been? Catherine's been telling the board you've become unstable, obsessed with some homeless child. She's pushing for a temporary leave of absence." Ethan had expected something like this, but the speed and audacity of Catherine's move still surprised him. When did this start? This morning. She called each board member individually before announcing the emergency meeting. "She's framing it as concern for your mental health, claiming your grief over Noah has finally caught up with you." Melissa lowered her voice. "Some of them are sympathetic to her argument, especially after you missed the investor follow-up calls this morning." "I see." Ethan kept his expression neutral. "And what's your assessment, Melissa?" She studied him carefully. "I think Catherine's hiding something, and you've gotten too close to it. I've worked with you for 5 years, Ethan. You don't suddenly crack under pressure." Her loyalty was reassuring. "I need your legal expertise, Melissa. Hypothetically, if a corporate officer deliberately caused harm to an employee to conceal potentially damaging information, what would the company's liability be?" Melissa's eyes widened slightly. "Enormous. Civil damages, criminal charges potentially. The company could be considered an accessory if other executives knew or should have known." She paused. "Is that what we're dealing with?" "I believe so." Ethan glanced at his watch. "The board meeting isn't for 2 hours. I need you to pull all documents related to Cleanscape Janitorial's contract. Specifically, any security incidents reported in April involving a cleaner named Elena Rodriguez. Also, check if there were any unusual payments authorized by Catherine. Around that time, consulting fees, medical services, anything that doesn't fit normal patterns. I'll need a subpoena for some of that. We don't have time for official channels. This is about preventing further harm to an innocent woman and her child." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I wouldn't ask if it weren't crucial." After a moment's hesitation, Melissa nodded. "I'll see what I can find. But Ethan, be careful. Catherine has been building alliances on the board for years. This won't be an easy fight." "I know. Thank you, Melissa." In his office, Ethan found multiple urgent messages from various executives, all reporting conversations with Catherine expressing concern about his mental state. She had been thorough, laying groundwork with key stakeholders before making her move. His phone buzzed with a text from Jackson Miles. "Met with Dr. Patel. Confirms Elena was healthy. No history of mental illness. Lily born 7 months ago at Swedish. Father not listed on birth certificate." Doctor noticed Elena became paranoid in April, showing symptoms consistent with drug-induced psychosis. Was planning to run toxicology when Elena disappeared. Also found which facility Elena was transferred to, Lakeside Wellness Center in Bellevue. Private, very exclusive. Heading there now. Progress. Ethan texted back, "Get evidence of her. Admission if possible. Need concrete proof of Catherine's involvement." Next he called Amanda. "How's Lily?" "She's good. We're having lunch with Rosa. Jackson told us about Lakeside Wellness. Rosa wants to go there with him. She thinks Elena might respond better to a familiar face." "Good idea. Have Jackson text me when they arrive." Ethan hesitated. "Amanda, there's something else I need you to do. It's delicate." "Name it." "I need a DNA sample from Lily. Nothing invasive. A cheek swab would work. I've arranged for a rush analysis at Biogenetics Lab in Fremont. They're expecting you within the hour." A pause. "You think she's related to you, don't you? That's why Catherine is so desperate to keep her away." "It's a theory I need to confirm or rule out. If my father had a relationship with Elena, it would explain a lot," Amanda finished. "I'll handle it discreetly. What about the board meeting?" "I'll manage Catherine, focus on Lily, and supporting Jackson's investigation." After ending the call, Ethan accessed Nexus Pay's secure archives. As founder and CEO, he had clearance levels even Catherine couldn't override. He searched for board minutes from 7 to 8 years ago, around the time Elena would have become pregnant with Lily. During that period, Nexus Pay had been expanding internationally, with his father, Richard Harrison, traveling frequently to their new Latin American offices in Mexico City, Bogota, and Santiago. According to the travel records, Richard had made 7 trips to Santiago, Chile in 1 year, more than any other location. The dates aligned with a major acquisition of a Chilean payment processing company. On a hunch, Ethan searched HR records for Elena Rodriguez. Her application from 3 years ago listed her previous residence as Santiago, Chile, where she had worked as an administrative assistant at a financial services firm. The same firm Nexus Pay had acquired 8 years ago. The connection was unmistakable. Richard Harrison, during his frequent trips to Santiago, must have met Elena while she was working at the acquisition target. The timing aligned perfectly with Lily's birth. But if his father had a relationship with Elena, why had she ended up as a night cleaner in the very building Richard owned? Why hadn't he acknowledged or supported her and their child? Unless he hadn't known, or someone had intervened. Ethan's phone rang, an unknown number. "Mr. Harrison, this is Nurse Sharma, from Lakeside Wellness Center. Your investigator, Mr. Miles, is here inquiring about a patient. I can't officially confirm or deny anything, but..." Her voice dropped. "I think you should come immediately. There's a situation that requires the family's presence." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Is it about Elena Rodriguez?" "I can't say more over the phone. Please just come as soon as possible." The board meeting was in less than 2 hours, but this couldn't wait. "I'm on my way." Lakeside Wellness Center lived up to its name, situated on a wooded property overlooking Lake Washington. The elegant facility resembled an upscale resort, more than a psychiatric hospital, with manicured gardens and a discreet security presence. In the marble-floored lobby, Jackson Miles waited with a petite Indian woman in medical scrubs who introduced herself as Nurse Sharma. Rosa sat nearby, twisting a tissue in her hands. "Thank you for coming so quickly," Nurse Sharma said, leading them to a private conference room. Once the door closed, her professional demeanor gave way to visible distress. "I've worked at Lakeside for 12 years. We provide excellent care for patients with mental health needs. But what's happening with Ms. Rodriguez? It's not right." "She's here?" Ethan asked, heart racing. "Elena is in this facility?" "Not under that name. She was admitted as Jane Bennett in April, with a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. The admitting physician was Dr. Westlake, the same doctor who has since relocated to Switzerland." "Who authorized her admission?" Jackson asked. "That's where it gets complicated. The paperwork was signed by a legal guardian, claiming the patient was unable to make medical decisions for herself. The guardian's name is listed as Catherine Harrison." Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. "My stepmother claimed legal guardianship of Elena. How is that possible?" "The documents appeared legitimate, power of attorney, court orders, but Ms. Rodriguez wasn't assigned to me until last month. Her previous nurse transferred to our Seattle facility. When I reviewed her case, I noticed inconsistencies." Nurse Sharma's voice trembled slightly. "Her medication regimen is excessive. She's kept heavily sedated, with doses that seem designed to maintain confusion rather than treat symptoms. When I reduced her medication slightly, following best practices, she began to improve dramatically, asking questions, remembering details. She mentioned a daughter named Lily." Rosa made a small sound of distress. "Can we see her?" "That's why I called. Ms. Harrison, the guardian, is scheduled to visit today at 3. She comes monthly to consult with the medical director about Ms. Rodriguez's care. If you're here as family..." Nurse Sharma left the implication hanging. "I need to see her," Ethan said firmly. "Can you arrange that without alerting Catherine?" "The medical director is at a conference today. I'm the charge nurse until 7. She hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. "I can bring you to her room through the staff entrance. But if Ms. Harrison arrives early..." "We'll be quick," Jackson promised, "and we'll ensure you're protected from any repercussions." Nurse Sharma led them through a series of keycard-secured doors, each taking them deeper into the residential wing of the facility. Unlike the luxurious public areas, these hallways were more clearly institutional, though still comfortable by hospital standards. Ms. Rodriguez is in our secure wing, ostensibly because of escape risk. In reality, I believe it's to limit her contact with other patients and staff. Nurse Sharma swiped her card at a final door. She's been more lucid since I adjusted her medication 3 days ago, but please understand, she's been heavily sedated. For months, her comprehension and memory may be impaired. The room they entered was pleasant but clearly designed for containment. No sharp objects, furniture bolted to the floor, windows made of unbreakable material. In a cushioned chair by the window sat a woman in her early 30s, her dark hair falling limply around a thin face. She stared vacantly at the garden beyond the glass, seemingly unaware of their entrance. "Elena?" Rosa stepped forward, her voice breaking. "Elena, mi querida, it's Rosa." The woman turned slowly, her movements sluggish, her eyes, the same warm, brown as lilies, struggled to focus. "Rosa." The word was slurred, but recognition flickered in her expression. "Is it really you?" Yes, it's me." Rosa rushed to embrace her friend, tears streaming down her face. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Elena's confusion was evident as she looked past Rosa to the others. "I don't understand. Where am I? They keep telling me I'm sick, but I don't remember being sick." "You're not sick," Ethan said, moving closer. "You've been drugged and held here against your will. We're going to get you out." Elena studied him with effort. "I know you," she said finally. "You look like him, like Richard." The confirmation sent a jolt through Ethan. "Richard Harrison was my father. Did you know him in Chile?" A faint smile touched Elena's lips. "Santiago. He came to our office. So many times we fell in love. He was going to leave his wife and bring me to Seattle." Her smile faded. "Then he stopped calling. My letters were returned. When I told him I was pregnant, nothing." "That doesn't sound like my father," Ethan said, frowning. "He was many things, but not irresponsible." "The wife," Elena murmured, her eyelids drooping as the medication in her system continued to affect her. "She came to Santiago, told me Richard had changed his mind, paid me to disappear." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I didn't take her money. I loved him, but she said if I contacted him again, she would make sure I lost everything." Catherine. Even then, she had been eliminating threats to her position and the Harrison family's public image. "Elena," Jackson said gently, "what brought you to Seattle? To Nexus Pay?" Elena's gaze wandered, then refocused with visible effort. "After Lily was born, I struggled in Santiago. No family. Single mother. When Lily was 4, I saw Richard's obituary online, heart attack." Her voice caught. "I thought maybe his son would be different. Maybe Lily could know her brother at least. So I came to Seattle, got the cleaning job at Nexus Pay. I was working up the courage to tell someone." "What happened in April?" Ethan pressed, aware that time was running short. "Why did they bring you here?" "I found papers in Catherine's office. Late at night, a letter from Richard in her desk. He'd written to me in Santiago many times, said he was divorcing her, that he wanted to be with me and our child." Elena's hands trembled. She intercepted all his letters. "He never knew about Lily, never knew I'd come to Seattle. And Catherine found out you'd seen these letters." Elena nodded weakly. "She came to my apartment, brought chocolates, said she wanted to make amends. After I ate them, everything became confused, scary, couldn't think straight. Then men came, said I needed help. They took me away. I haven't seen Lily since." Fresh tears flowed. "My baby, where is my Lily?" "She's safe," Ethan assured her, his throat tight with emotion and rage. "She's with my assistant Amanda. She's the one who found us, Elena. Lily never stopped looking for you." Relief transformed Elena's exhausted features. "She's alive. She's okay?" "She's more than okay. She's remarkable." Ethan took Elena's hand. "And I promise you I'm going to reunite you with her and make Catherine pay for what she's done." Nurse Sharma appeared in the doorway, her expression urgent. Ms. Harrison just arrived. She's early for her appointment. You need to leave immediately through the service corridor. Jackson moved quickly to the door. I've seen enough. We have grounds for an emergency court order to release Ms. Rodriguez and investigate her unlawful detention. Go, Ethan told him. Take Rosa and get that order. I'm staying. Ethan, that's not wise, Jackson warned. Catherine will have to deal with me directly. It's time to end this. Ethan's voice was steel. Get the court order. I'll handle my stepmother. After a moment's hesitation, Jackson nodded. We'll move as quickly as possible. Rosa, come with me. Rosa kissed Elena's forehead. We'll be back soon, querida, with Lily. As they departed through a service door, Nurse Sharma turned to Ethan. What are you going to do? First, I'm going to have a DNA sample taken from Elena to confirm what I already suspect, that Lily is my half-sister. Then I'm going to confront the woman who orchestrated this entire situation. Ethan checked his watch. The board meeting is in 45 minutes. Please take the DNA sample to this lab immediately. He handed her a card for biogenetics. Tell them it's to be compared with the sample from Lily Rodriguez that should have arrived already. Nurse Sharma hesitated. If I leave my post, you'll be protecting a patient who has been unlawfully detained and drugged. I'll take full responsibility. After a moment, she nodded and quickly took a cheek swab from Eleanor, who submitted with confused compliance. I'll go now, but please be careful. Ms. Harrison has considerable influence here. When Nurse Sharma had gone, Ethan pulled a chair close to Elena's and took her hand. I'm sorry for what Catherine did to you, and I'm sorry my father never knew about Lily. He would have loved her. Elena's eyes filled with tears. She looks like him, you know. Same determined expression when she's thinking hard. Same laugh. She squeezed his hand weakly. You have his eyes. So I've been told. Ethan smiled gently. Rest now. When you wake up, Lily will be here. Elena's eyelids fluttered closed, the medication still heavy in her system. Ethan sat with her until her breathing deepened into sleep, then stood and straightened his tie. It was time to confront Catherine. He found her in the medical director's office, reviewing a file with a distinguished-looking doctor in his 60s. Both looked up in shock when Ethan entered. Ethan, Catherine recovered quickly. What are you doing here? The board meeting. We'll have to wait. We have more urgent matters to discuss. Ethan turned to the doctor. I'd like a moment alone with my stepmother, please. The doctor glanced uncertainly between them. Ms. Harrison and I are discussing a patient's care plan. Elena Rodriguez's care plan, or do you know her as Jane Bennett? Ethan's voice was ice. The woman you've been keeping drugged into compliance for the past 6 months based on falsified commitment papers? The doctor paled. I don't know what you're talking about. Ms. Bennett is Elena Rodriguez, a woman who was drugged by Catherine and institutionalized to prevent her from revealing that she had a child with my father, a child Catherine has gone to extraordinary lengths to keep hidden. Catherine stood, her composure impressive despite the circumstances. Dr. Phillips, would you excuse us? My stepson is clearly experiencing some psychological distress. The pressure of the company, his custody battle, it's affected his grip on reality. The doctor retreated hastily, closing the door behind him. Well played, Ethan, Catherine said coldly. Bursting in with wild accusations just before a board meeting where your mental stability is being questioned. You've rather proved my point. I've spoken with Elena, Ethan replied. I know everything, Catherine. The letters my father sent her that you intercepted. How you paid her to disappear from his life. How you drugged her when she discovered evidence of your interference. How you've kept her sedated and institutionalized while her 7-year-old daughter was left to fend for herself on the streets. Catherine's face remained impassive, but her fingers tightened on the edge of the desk. You have no proof of any of this. Actually, I do. Elena's testimony. Nurse Sharma's observations about the excessive medication. The falsified guardianship. Documents. Jackson Miles is obtaining an emergency court order as we speak to release Elena and investigate her unlawful detention. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Catherine's eyes. Elena Rodriguez is a mentally ill woman who developed paranoid delusions. As someone who had previously interacted with her through our cleaning service, I simply stepped in to ensure she received proper care. Any court will see that. And Lily? What's your explanation for abandoning a 7-year-old to the foster system and then not reporting it when she ran away? The child was placed through proper channels. If the system failed her, that's hardly my responsibility. Ethan leaned across the desk, his voice deadly quiet. She's my sister, Catherine. My father's daughter. Your stepdaughter, technically. And you left her homeless on the streets of Seattle. Something finally cracked in Catherine's facade. A flash of the genuine emotion beneath her calculated exterior. She is nothing to us, just the result of one of Richard's countless infidelities. Do you have any idea how many there were? How? Many times I had to clean up his messes, protect the family name, preserve what we built. So that's what this is about. Preserving the Harrison reputation at any cost? It's about protecting Nexus pay, Catherine hissed. We were months away from going public when Elena started snooping through my office. The letter she found, Richard's pathetic declaration that he was leaving me for some Chilean secretary, would have been devastating if it came to light. A founder involved in international scandal, a secret love child, a bitter divorce. Our IPO would have collapsed. So you decided to destroy Elena's life instead. Drug her, institutionalize her, separate her from her child. Catherine's laugh was brittle. I gave her a chance first. The chocolates weren't originally intended to drug her. I went to her apartment to negotiate. Money for her silence and departure, but she refused. Said Lily deserved to know her family, her brother. She shook her head. So self-righteous, as if she hadn't been sleeping with a married man. I had already added the sedatives to the chocolates as a precaution. Once she became disoriented, it was simple to call for psychiatric intervention. The casual way Catherine described her calculated destruction of a woman's life chilled Ethan to the bone. And you've kept her drugged for 6 months while her daughter was living on the streets. The child was placed in state care. What happened after that was not my concern. She's 7 years old, Catherine. She's been sleeping in parks, foraging. For food. She could have been hurt or worse. For a moment, something like shame crossed Catherine's face, quickly replaced by defensive anger. I did what was necessary to protect our company. Your company, Ethan. Everything your father and I built. Everything you stand to lose if this sordid story becomes public. I don't care about the company. Not if this is the price. Ethan straightened. The board meeting is in 30 minutes. I'm bringing Elena and Lily. We're going to tell the board exactly what you've done. They'll never believe you. Catherine's confidence was returning. It will be the word of a mentally ill cleaning woman against the CFO who's guided Nexus Pay's financial strategy for 15 years. Who do you think they'll side with? I guess we'll find out. Ethan turned to leave, then paused. You know what's ironic, Catherine? If you had simply been honest when Eleanor came to Seattle, acknowledged her as my father's former partner, perhaps offered her a decent job, and welcomed Lily as part of the extended family, this could have been handled discreetly. Instead, your paranoia and cruelty have guaranteed it will become exactly the kind of public scandal you feared. Catherine's expression hardened. You've made your choice then. Don't expect mercy when you lose everything. I've found something more important than Nexus Pay, Catherine. I've found family, the real kind, built on truth and compassion, not manipulation and fear. Ethan opened the door. I'll see you at the board meeting. As he walked back toward Eleanor's room, his phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. DNA results expedited. 99.7% probability Lily is your paternal half-sister. We're heading to Lakeside now with Rosa. The confirmation brought a strange peace. Whatever happened with the board, with Nexus Pay, with his professional future, Ethan now had an unshakable purpose: to protect his newly discovered sister and help her mother rebuild the life that Catherine had so cruelly dismantled. In Elena's room, he found her awake, her eyes clearer than before as the heavy sedatives began to wear off. "Lily?" she asked immediately upon seeing him. "Is she coming?" Yes, Ethan smiled, showing her the text message. She's on her way. And Elena? The DNA test confirms it. Lily is my father's daughter, she's my sister. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I always wanted her to know her family. Richard spoke of you often, how proud he was of you, how brilliant you were. He wanted us all to be together. We will be, Ethan promised, taking her hand. Starting today. Amanda's SUV pulled into Lakeside Wellness Center's circular driveway just as Jackson Miles returned with a document in hand. Lily was out of the car before it fully stopped, vibrating with nervous energy. "Is my mum really here?" she asked, clutching Amanda's hand tightly. "Yes, sweetie," Amanda assured her. Ethan found her. Jackson approached, holding up the document. Emergency court order for Elena Rodriguez's immediate release into family custody, pending investigation of her involuntary commitment. Judge Phillips was appropriately outraged when I presented the evidence. "Did you reach Melissa?" Amanda asked. "Yes. She's meeting us at Nexus Pay with the documents she found. Apparently there's a paper trail Catherine didn't manage to erase completely." Rosa joined them, her eyes red from crying, but her expression determined. "Let's go get Elena. That poor child has waited long enough to see her mother." Inside, a security guard tried to stop them until Jackson presented the court order. "We're here for Elena Rodriguez, also known as Jane Bennett. This is her daughter and her legal counsel." The guard examined the document, then radioed for a supervisor. Moments later, Nurse Sharma appeared, looking relieved to see them. "Mr. Harrison is with Ms. Rodriguez in her room. She's much more alert now. I think her body is finally clearing the excessive medication." She knelt to Lily's level. "Your mom is very excited to see you, but she might seem a little tired or confused. That's because of medicine they've been giving her. But she loves you very much and has missed you every day." Lily nodded solemnly. "I know. Can I see her now?" "Of course. Follow me." As they walked through the facility, Lily's grip on Amanda's hand tightened. Her brave facade was beginning to crack, revealing the frightened child beneath. "What if she doesn't remember me?" she whispered. "She remembers you," Amanda assured her. "She's been asking for you." When they reached Elena's room, Nurse Sharma opened the door gently. Inside, Eleanor sat on the edge of her bed, supported by Ethan. Though still pale and visibly weak, her eyes were clearer, more focused. For a moment, mother and daughter simply stared at each other, as if neither could believe the moment was real. Then Elena opened her arms. "Mi corazon," she whispered. "My Lily." Lily broke away from Amanda and flew across the room, crashing into her mother's embrace with a sob that seemed to come from the depths of her small body. "Mommy!" Eleanor held her daughter close, rocking her, murmuring endearments in a mixture of English and Spanish, tears streaming down her face. "I'm here, mi vida. I'm here now. I'm so sorry I left you." "I knew you didn't want to go," Lily hiccuped between sobs. "I knew the flower lady made you sick." "Yes, mi amor." Elena stroked her daughter's hair. "But I'm getting better now, and I'm never leaving you again." The reunion was so raw, so intimate, that the adults in the room averted their eyes, giving mother and daughter a moment of privacy in their joy. Ethan felt his own eyes burn with tears. This was what mattered, not stock prices or board approvals, but the bond between a parent and child that transcended all obstacles. Jackson cleared his throat gently. "Ms. Rodriguez, we have a court order for your release. You're free to leave immediately." Elena looked up, her arms still tight around Lily. "Leave? Really?" "Yes," Ethan confirmed. "But there's something we need to do first. The Nexus Pay Board meeting starts in 20 minutes. Catherine is there, preparing to challenge my leadership. I want you both to come with me." Elena hesitated, her expression troubled. "I don't know if I'm strong enough yet. The medicine, I understand if you're not ready," Ethan said gently, "but your testimony could be crucial in holding Catherine accountable." "I'll come," Elena decided, her voice strengthening with resolve. "Lily and I will both come. Catherine has taken enough from us. I won't let her take your company too. With Nurse Sharma's help, Eleanor changed into clothes Amanda had brought, a simple blouse and slacks that hung loose on her too thin frame. Though still unsteady, she insisted on walking out of the facility under her own power, one arm around Lily, who refused to move more than inches from her side. "Where will they stay tonight?" Rosa asked as they headed to their vehicles. "Elena needs rest, proper care." "My guest house," Ethan decided. "It's fully furnished, and I can arrange for a nurse and security." In the car on the way to Nexus Pay Tower, Ethan briefed Elena on what to expect. The board consists of 7 members, including myself and Catherine. The other 5 are venture capitalists and industry experts. They're primarily concerned with the company's financial health and public image. "Which is why Catherine thinks they'll side with her," Amanda added from the driver's seat. "She's framing Ethan's behavior as erratic and potentially damaging to the upcoming IPO. "But what about what she did to Mom?" Lily asked, her head resting against Elena's shoulder. "Isn't that worse than anything?" "It should be," Ethan said, grimly. "But business boards can sometimes prioritize profits over people. That's why we need to show them that Catherine's actions aren't just cruel, they're a liability to the company." When they arrived at Nexus Pay Tower, Melissa Chen waited in the underground executive parking area, a portfolio of documents in hand. "I found it," she said without preamble. "The smoking gun." "What is it?" Ethan asked as they walked toward the private elevator. "Payments from a Nexus Pay discretionary fund to Lakeside Wellness Center, specifically for patient Jane Bennett, authorized by Catherine, countersigned by Dr. Phillips. Also, a series of payments to Judge Hendricks, who signed Lily's emergency placement order, disguised as consulting fees. She bribed a judge." Jackson's eyebrows rose. "That moves this from unethical to criminal." "There's more," Melissa continued. "I found a copy of Richard Harrison's original will in our secure archives. It includes a provision for any children born to me, acknowledged or unacknowledged. If a DNA test confirms paternity, these children are entitled to an equal share of his personal estate and Nexus Pay holdings." Ethan absorbed this information with growing amazement. His father had anticipated the possibility of unknown children and provided for them. Catherine must have known about this provision. If Lily was confirmed as Richard's daughter, she would own approximately 12% of Nexus Pay, Melissa finished, currently valued at around $300 million. That's why Catherine was so desperate to keep Elena and Lily hidden, Amanda realized. It wasn't just about scandal, it was about money and control. The elevator doors opened onto the 40th floor. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, they could see the other board, members already assembled. Catherine stood at the head of the table, mid-presentation, her posture confident and commanding. She faltered visibly when she saw their group approaching, Ethan leading, followed by Melissa, Jackson, Amanda, and finally Elena, with Lily still clutched to her side. For an instant, naked fear flashed across Catherine's face before her mask of composure returned. Ethan pushed open the boardroom doors. "I apologize for the interruption, but I believe the board should hear all relevant information before making any decisions today." The board members turned in surprise. Walter Reynolds, the lead investor and board chair, frowned. "Ethan, we're in the middle of a sensitive discussion about my mental fitness to lead Nexus Pay." "Yes, I'm aware." Ethan gestured to the others to enter. "That's why I've brought several people whose testimony is directly relevant to these proceedings." Catherine's voice was brittle. "This is highly irregular, Walter. I was just explaining Ethan's concerning behavior over the past 24 hours, his obsession with a homeless child, his abandonment of executive responsibilities. And I'm here to provide context for those actions," Ethan replied evenly. He turned to the board. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Elena Rodriguez, formerly employed by our cleaning service, who was illegally drugged and institutionalized by Catherine Harrison to prevent her from revealing that she has a 7-year-old daughter fathered by Richard Harrison." The boardroom erupted in shocked murmurs. Walter Reynolds banged his gavel for order. "These are extremely serious allegations, Ethan. Do you have evidence to support them?" Substantial evidence. Ethan nodded to Melissa, who began distributing folders to each board member. Financial records showing Catherine used company funds to pay for Elena's involuntary commitment under a false name. Medical reports indicating she was kept heavily sedated, without legitimate psychiatric need. DNA test results confirming that Lily Rodriguez is Richard Harrison's biological daughter and my half-sister. And most damning, Jackson added, stepping forward, evidence that Catherine bribed a judge to ensure Lily would be placed in state care, where she subsequently ran away and lived homeless on Seattle's streets for months. Catherine remained standing at the head of the table, her knuckles white where they gripped the edge. This is absurd. You can't possibly believe. I found the letters, Eleanor interrupted, her voice soft but clear. The ones Richard sent. Me and Santiago after you told me he wanted nothing to do with me or our baby. Letters saying he was divorcing you, that he wanted to be with us. Her dark eyes held Catherine's. You intercepted them all. You made me believe the man I loved had abandoned me when he was trying desperately to find me. You can't prove any of this, Catherine insisted, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. Actually, we can, Melissa said, directing the board to specific pages in their folders. The financial trail is quite clear, as is the fact that Catherine knew about the provision in Richard's will that would entitle any biological child of his to an equal share of his Nexus Pay holdings. Walter Reynolds studied the documents with a deepening frown. These payments to Lakeside Wellness, they came from corporate accounts. Yes, Melissa confirmed, disguised as consulting fees but clearly traceable to Elena's care under the name Jane Bennett. And the court order allowing her release? Another board member asked. Jackson placed the document on the table, signed by Judge Phillips 1 hour ago after reviewing evidence of fraudulent commitment papers and inappropriate medical protocols. Catherine's composure finally cracked. You don't understand what was at stake. This woman and her child threatened everything we built. The IPO, our reputation. My reputation? Ethan's voice cut through her justifications. Or yours, Catherine, because it seems to me you were primarily concerned with maintaining control of the company and preventing Lily from accessing her rightful inheritance. The will provision, Walter murmured, having reached that page in the documentation. Good. God, Catherine, you kept this child from hundreds of millions in assets. Assets that rightfully belong to Nexus Pay shareholders, Catherine countered desperately. Think of the stock dilution, the market uncertainty if this came to light during our IPO process. So you admit it, Ethan pressed. You admit orchestrating Elena's drugging and institutionalization, separating her from Lily to protect Nexus Pay's IPO? Catherine's gaze darted around the room, finding no allies among the shocked faces of the board members. Her shoulders sagged slightly. I did what was necessary to protect this company, the same company I've dedicated my life to building. At the expense of a 7-year-old child. Amanda's voice was quiet but cutting. Lily lived on the streets, Catherine. She could have died out there alone and afraid. I never intended, Catherine began, then stopped, seeming to realize the futility of further denials. The foster placement was supposed to be temporary, just until after the IPO. Then arrangements could have been made. Arrangements? Elena's voice trembled with rage. You stole 6 months of my life. You separated me from my daughter. You kept me drugged and confused in a facility where I couldn't even remember my own name most days. She drew herself up, one arm still protectively, around Lily. There is no arrangement that could ever make that right. The boardroom fell silent. Walter Reynolds finally cleared his throat. In light of this information, I believe we need to reconsider the purpose of today's meeting. He looked at Catherine. Ms. Harrison, these allegations, if proven true, constitute serious violations of corporate ethics, fiduciary duty, and possibly criminal law. I must ask you to leave this meeting while the board confers. Catherine's face went white. You can't be serious. I've guided this company's financial strategy for 15 years. And apparently used company resources to commit multiple serious violations, another board member, Janet Winters, pointed out. Walter's right. You need to step out while we discuss this. For a moment, it seemed Catherine might refuse. Then, gathering what dignity she could, she collected her tablet and walked stiffly from the room. As she passed Elena and Lily, she paused briefly, her expression unreadable, then continued without a word. When the door closed behind her, Walter turned to Ethan. "I think it would be best if Ms. Rodriguez and her daughter waited outside as well. This discussion should involve only board members, legal counsel, and you as CEO." Ethan nodded. "Amanda, would you take Elena and Lily to my office? Make sure they're comfortable. This shouldn't take long." As they left, Lily turned back. "Are you going to be okay?" she asked Ethan, her young face solemn with concern. "I'll be fine," he assured her with a smile. "Go with Amanda. I'll join you soon." When they were gone, Walter Reynolds shook his head. "In 20 years on corporate boards, I've never encountered anything like this. The liability issues alone are staggering." "Not to mention the potential criminal charges," Janet Winters added. "Drugging someone, falsifying medical records, bribing a judge. Catherine could be facing serious prison time." "Our immediate concern must be the company's position," another board member, Mark Chen, pointed out. "The IPO is scheduled for next month. This story, if it becomes public—" "It will become public," Ethan interrupted firmly. "I'm not burying what happened to Elena and Lily to protect stock prices. They deserve justice." Walter studied him thoughtfully. "You're prepared to delay or potentially sacrifice the IPO over this? Even knowing what that would mean for Nexus Pay's valuation?" "I am." Ethan met his gaze steadily. "My father built this company on innovation and integrity. Catherine betrayed those values when she used Nexus Pay resources to harm innocent people. If going public means continuing that betrayal, then perhaps we shouldn't go public." The board members exchanged glances. Then, surprisingly, Janet Winters smiled. "That's exactly the kind of ethical leadership investors ultimately want, Ethan. Companies weather scandals much better when they own them, address them honestly, and demonstrate commitment to making things right." "I agree," Walter said after a moment. "The question isn't whether we disclose this situation, but how we frame it. Catherine acted without board knowledge or approval. We take immediate corrective action, make restitution to the victims, and position Nexus Pay as a company that values ethical conduct above all else. Beginning with Catherine's immediate removal as CFO," Mark Chen added, "for cause." The vote was unanimous. Catherine Harrison would be terminated from all positions at Nexus Pay, effective immediately. The board would cooperate fully with any criminal investigation, while simultaneously preparing a communication strategy to address the situation with investors, employees, and the public. As for Lily's inheritance, Walter concluded, the board recognizes her legal right to her father's shares as established in his will. Appropriate trusts will be established until she reaches maturity, with you, Ethan, serving as trustee if you're willing. "I am," Ethan confirmed. "Though I want to be clear, my relationship with Lily and Elena isn't about Nexus Pay shares. They're family, regardless of financial considerations." Walter nodded approvingly. "That's evident in your actions. Now shall we invite Catherine back to inform her of our decision?" The confrontation was brief but intense. Catherine, upon hearing the board's unanimous vote for her removal, maintained a rigid composure that only cracked when informed that the company would be cooperating with potential criminal investigations. "You're making a terrible mistake," she told the board coldly. "I built this company alongside Richard. Without my financial stewardship, Nexus Pay would never have reached this valuation." "Your contributions are acknowledged, Catherine," Walter replied, "but they don't excuse your actions. Security will escort you to collect your personal belongings. Your company accounts and access have already been suspended." Catherine turned to Ethan, her eyes hard. "You think you've won, but there are things about your father you still don't know. Things that would change how you see everything. Whatever those things might be, they don't justify what you did to Elena and Lily," Ethan responded evenly. "Goodbye, Catherine." After she was escorted out, Ethan thanked the board for their support and excused himself to join Elena and Lily in his office. He found them on his sofa, Lily curled against her mother's side, both looking exhausted but peaceful in their reunion. "It's done," he told them. Catherine has been removed from the company. The board fully supports making restitution for what you've both endured. Elena nodded wearily. What happens now? Now you both come home with me. My guest house is yours for as long as you need it. You'll have medical care for Elena, security, anything you require to heal and rebuild your lives. And Catherine? Elena asked. Will likely face criminal charges. Jackson is meeting with the district attorney this afternoon. Lily looked up at Ethan with solemn eyes. Does this mean you're really my brother? Ethan knelt to her level, his heart full. Yes, Lily, I'm really your brother, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have found you. The girl considered this, then asked the question that had clearly been weighing on her young mind. Will you disappear too, like everyone else? No, Ethan promised, his voice rough with emotion. I will never disappear from your life, Lily. From now on we're family, forever. She studied his face carefully as if searching for any hint of insincerity. Then, apparently satisfied, she nodded once. Good, because I like having a big brother. Amanda, who had been quietly observing from the doorway, stepped forward. The car is ready whenever you are. I've arranged for Dr. Martinez to meet us at Ethan's home to check Elena over, and the guest house is being prepared. As they made their way to the executive elevator, Ethan's phone rang, the international number he recognized as Victoria's, in London, Noah. After a moment's hesitation, he answered. Victoria, is everything okay with Noah? Yes, he's fine. His ex-wife's voice was uncharacteristically conciliatory. Actually, he's right here and wants to talk to you. Before Ethan could respond, his son's voice came on the line. Dad, guess what? Mom says we're coming back to Seattle. She got a job offer she really likes, and I can live with you half the time, just like before. The unexpected joy of hearing this news on this particular day made Ethan's eyes burn with tears. That's wonderful, buddy. When are you coming? Next week. Mom says I can go to my old school again and everything. Noah paused. Are you crying, Dad? Happy tears, Ethan assured him, catching Lily's curious gaze. Noah, when you get here, there's someone very special I want you to meet. You have an aunt and a cousin you didn't know about. Really? Cool. Are they nice? Ethan smiled at Lily, who was listening intently. The nicest. Your cousin Lily is 7, and she's one of the bravest people I've ever met. I think you two are going to be great friends. As they stepped into the elevator, Elena leaned close to whisper, Is that your son? The one you were missing when we met? Ethan nodded, still processing the serendipity of the moment. He's coming home. After a year apart, he's finally coming home. Elena squeezed his hand. Then our family circle grows larger, another child finding their way back where they belong. The elevator descended, carrying them away from the corporate drama that had consumed the day and toward the beginning of a new chapter, one built on truth, reconciliation, and the unbreakable bonds of family that had survived despite Catherine's machinations. In the car, Lily fell asleep against her mother, the emotional exhaustion of the day finally catching up with her. Eleanor stroked her daughter's hair, her own eyelids growing heavy as her body continued to clear the medications from her system. She never gave up looking for you, Ethan told Elena softly. Even when adults told her to stop hoping, she kept searching. That's how we found each other. She saw me crying in the rain and offered me her bread. Elena's eyes filled with tears. My Lily has always had a generous heart. Even as a tiny girl, she would give away her toys to children who seemed sad. She looked at Ethan. She has that from your father. He was kind in the same way, seeing people who were hurting and wanting to help. I wish he had known her, Ethan said. Known you, both? In a way, I think he led us to you, Elena replied, her voice drifting with fatigue. Through Lily's courage and your compassion, the circle closing as it was meant to. As Elena succumbed to much-needed sleep, Ethan gazed out at the Seattle skyline, thinking of circles closing and new ones beginning. In how, the span of a single day, he had lost his stepmother and gained a sister. In a week, his son would return, and somewhere in the middle of all this change and revelation, he had rediscovered something essential about himself, something that had gotten lost in boardrooms and balance sheets and custody battles, the capacity to care more about people than profit, the courage to stand for what was right, regardless of personal cost, the clarity to recognize true family when he found it, not in bloodlines alone, but in acts of kindness and trust extended across the divides that separated them. As the car wound its way toward his lakeside home, Ethan made a silent promise to the sleeping child beside him. The promise his father had been prevented from keeping. The promise that should have been kept to her from the beginning. You will never be alone again. 1 year later, the autumn sun cast golden light across the backyard of Ethan Harrison's Lake Washington home, where colorful leaves drifted lazily onto the expansive lawn. On the stone patio, a celebration was in full swing, streamers and balloons decorating the space, laughter and conversation filling the air. At the center of it all stood a cake with 8 candles, and beside it, Lily Rodriguez Harrison, her face glowing with happiness as family and friends sang happy birthday in a cheerful chorus. "Make a wish, Lily," called Noah, now 10 and considerably taller than when he'd returned from London a year ago. He stood beside his father, grinning at the cousin who had become more like a sister over the past 12 months. Lily closed her eyes, her expression serious with concentration, then blew out all 8 candles in one determined breath. The gathered crowd applauded, none more enthusiastically than Elena, who watched her daughter with eyes bright with maternal pride and lingering wonder at how far they had come. The year had brought healing and transformation for them all. Elena, gradually, freed from the medications that had clouded her mind, had regained her health and strength. The trauma of her ordeal remained, occasional nightmares, moments of irrational fear. But therapy and the unwavering support of her newfound family had helped her rebuild her sense of security and trust. She now worked as Nexus Pay's community outreach director, spearheading initiatives to support vulnerable families and children in the Seattle area. The position had been created specifically for her, leveraging her compassion and first-hand understanding of how easily lives could be derailed by circumstances beyond one's control. Lily had blossomed in the stability of her restored family. Enrolled in the same private school as Noah, she had quickly made up the academic ground lost during her time on the streets. Her resilience and natural intelligence served her well, though teachers sometimes noted a maturity beyond her years, the inevitable result of her experiences. The cousins had formed an immediate bond, with Noah appointed as Lily's self-proclaimed protector and guide to all things Seattle. They were inseparable on the weekends they spent at Ethan's home, building elaborate forts in the guest house that was now Eleanor and Lily's permanent residence, fishing off the private dock and creating secret languages that baffled the adults. As Lily began opening her presents, Amanda approached Ethan with 2 glasses of champagne. In the aftermath of the Catherine revelation, their professional relationship had gradually evolved into something deeper. Today, the diamond ring on Amanda's left hand caught the sunlight as she handed Ethan his glass. "She looks happy," Amanda observed, watching Lily exclaim over a science kit from Noah. "They both do." "They are," Ethan agreed. "Elena told me this morning that Lily hasn't had a nightmare in over a month." Amanda smiled. "Amazing what security and love can do." "And justice," Ethan added quietly. Catherine Harrison's fall had been swift and comprehensive. Faced with overwhelming evidence of her actions, she had accepted a plea deal rather than risk a trial that would have exposed even more of her machinations. She was currently serving a 5-year sentence for fraud, bribery, and reckless endangerment of a minor, with additional civil penalties that had decimated her personal fortune. The scandal had indeed affected Nexus Pay's planned IPO, but not in the way Catherine had feared. Under Ethan's transparent leadership, publicly acknowledging the company's indirect role in Elena and Lily's suffering, while emphasizing the board's commitment to restitution and ethical governance, Nexus Pay had emerged with its reputation largely intact. The IPO had been delayed by 6 months, but had ultimately succeeded, though at a somewhat reduced initial valuation. "Have you heard from her at all?" Amanda asked, knowing Ethan would understand she meant Catherine. He shook his head. Not since the sentencing. I think she finally realized there was nothing left to manipulate or control. Their conversation was interrupted by Melissa Chen, who approached with her wife and their toddler son. As Nexus Pay's new chief legal officer, Melissa had been instrumental in navigating the company through the aftermath of Catherine's crimes. "Sorry we're late," she said, handing Lily a gift bag. "Someone didn't want to wake up from his nap." "No worries," Ethan assured her. "We're just getting to the presents. How was the meeting with the SEC yesterday?" "Productive. They're satisfied with our enhanced ethics protocols and board oversight measures." Melissa lowered her voice. "And the trust fund for Lily is officially approved with all the tax exemptions we requested." "Perfect timing for her birthday," Ethan smiled, "though we're not telling her about that particular present just yet. 8 is a bit young to comprehend 300 million in assets." Across the lawn, Jackson Miles chatted with Rosa Diaz, who had become Elena and Lily's most frequent visitor and de facto grandmother figure. The private investigator had declined Ethan's offer of permanent employment as Nexus Pay's security chief, preferring his independence, but he remained a trusted friend and advisor to the family. "Uncle Ethan," Lily called, waving a wrapped box. "This one's from you and Amanda." Ethan and Amanda exchanged smiles as they joined the circle around Lily. The gift, a professional-grade telescope, had been carefully chosen to nurture the girl's growing interest in astronomy. Since moving into the guest house with its clear view of the night sky, Lily had become fascinated with stars and planets, often dragging Ethan outside at ridiculously late hours to observe particularly notable celestial events. As Lily tore away the wrapping paper and gasped in delight, Elena caught Ethan's eye over her daughter's head, mouthing a silent thank you that encompassed far more than just the generous gift. The bond between brother and sister had deepened over the past year, built on mutual respect and the shared experiences that had brought them together. Later, as the party began to wind down and guests departed with leftover cake and goodie bags, Ethan found himself alone with Elena on the dock, watching Noah and Lily skip stones across the lake's glassy surface. "I received a letter yesterday," Elena said after a comfortable silence. "From Santiago. My old neighbor found some of Richard's letters that Catherine didn't manage to intercept. She sent them to me." Ethan turned to her, surprised. "After all this time? What did they say?" Elena smiled, a hint of old sadness in her eyes. "Many beautiful things. His love for me, his plans for us. But also," she hesitated, "he wrote about you. How proud he was of you. How much he wanted us all to be a family together. He believed you would welcome us, welcome Lily with an open heart." "He was right about that," Ethan said softly. In his last letter, dated just days before his heart attack, he wrote that he was coming to Santiago himself, that he'd waited long enough for my response and was determined to find me. Eleanor's voice caught. "He was on his way to me when he died, Ethan, trying to find us." The revelation settled between them, a missing piece of the puzzle finally found. Richard Harrison had not abandoned Elena and Lily, as Catherine had orchestrated them to believe. He had been searching for them until his final days. "I wish he'd found you," Ethan said, feeling the familiar ache of loss for his father, now compounded by the knowledge of what might have been. "But I'm grateful that Lily found me instead." Eleanor touched his arm gently. "You know what I think? I think he guided her to you that day. Of all the streets in Seattle, all the rainy mornings, she found you at your lowest moment, just when you needed her kindness, and she needed your protection." The idea was comforting, even to Ethan's pragmatic mind. "I'd like to believe that." They watched as Noah taught Lily how to throw a stone so it would bounce 4 times before sinking. The children's laughter carried across the water, bright and uncomplicated. "I've been thinking," Ethan said after a moment, "about formally adopting Lily, not to replace Richard as her father, but to legally establish what we already know, that she's my sister, my family, under my protection." He glanced at Elena. "With your blessing, of course." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Richard would have wanted that, and so do I." Their moment was interrupted by Amanda calling from the patio. "Incoming video call from London. Victoria wants to wish Lily a happy birthday. Over the past year, Ethan's ex-wife had developed an unexpected affection for Lily, impressed by the child's resilience and the positive influence she had on Noah. The co-parenting relationship that had once been so contentious had gradually evolved into something approaching friendship, aided by Victoria's new relationship with a British architect and her flourishing career at a London-based tech firm. As they walked back to join the others, Ethan reflected on how profoundly his life had changed since that rainy morning when a homeless child had offered him her only piece of bread. The grief that had consumed him then, the sense of powerlessness over Noah's absence, had transformed into a deeper appreciation for family in all its forms. Now Noah was back in his life, sharing time between Seattle and London. He had gained a sister in Lily, whose courage and compassion humbled him daily. Amanda had moved from trusted colleague to beloved partner, and Elena had become the sister-in-law his father had intended her to be, bringing warmth and perspective to the Harrison family that had been missing during Catherine's calculating reign. Nexus Pay continued to thrive, but its place in Ethan's heart had shifted. Once his primary focus and identity, the company now served a greater purpose, providing the resources to protect his expanded family and help others in similar vulnerable situations. The Elena Rodriguez Family Support Initiative, funded by Nexus Pay's foundation, had already helped dozens of single parents facing crisis situations, preventing the kind of separation Elena and Lily had endured. On the patio, the family gathered around Ethan's laptop for the video call. Victoria appeared on screen, waving from her London flat. "Happy birthday, Lily. Did you get my package?" "Yes," Lily exclaimed, holding up the beautiful leather-bound journal Victoria had sent. "Thank you. I'm going to use it to draw the stars I see with my new telescope." As the conversation continued, with Noah clamoring to tell his mother about the fishing trip planned for the following weekend, Ethan felt a small hand slip into his. He looked down to find Lily beside him, her expression suddenly serious. "Can I ask you something?" she whispered. "Of course. Are you still sad sometimes? About before?" Ethan understood the depth of her question, this child who had experienced so much loss and uncertainty, asking about the emotional wounds of others. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but not like before. The sad feelings come and go, but they don't stay forever." Lily nodded, processing this. "That's how it is for me, too. Mom says it's normal, that sad feelings need space to breathe sometimes." "Your Mom is very wise." "I know." Lily squeezed his hand. "I'm glad you didn't disappear, Ethan, like you promised." "I'm glad you didn't either, Lily," he squeezed back. "Remember when we met? When you offered me your bread?" She nodded solemnly. "You were crying in the rain. Do you know why I was crying?" "Because you missed Noah." "Yes, but also because I felt alone, even though I had this big company and lots of money. I thought I'd lost my family." Ethan knelt to her level. "But then you found me, and you showed me what real generosity looks like, giving someone your only food when you had nothing yourself." Lily's smile was shy but pleased. "It was just bread." "It was never just bread, Lily. It was hope, kindness when I needed it most. You saved me that day just as much as I might have saved you." The 8-year-old considered this with characteristic thoughtfulness, then nodded as if confirming a theory of her own. "That's how family works, I think. We save each other." From inside the house, Elena called that it was time for cake and ice cream. Noah raced past them, always first in line for dessert. Amanda lingered in the doorway, catching Ethan's eye with a smile that held the promise of their shared future. "Come on," Lily tugged his hand. "Mom made chocolate cake with raspberry filling. It's the best thing ever." As they walked together toward the house that had transformed from a lonely monument to Ethan's success into a true home filled with love and laughter, Ethan realized that Lily had articulated the most profound truth of their journey. We save each other, not with grand gestures or heroic interventions, but with small acts of kindness and courage. A piece of bread offered in the rain, a hand extended in darkness. The unwavering belief that even when the world seems determined to separate us from those we love, the bonds of family, whether formed by blood or choice, can endure and triumph. Inside, Eleanor had lit the candles on a second, smaller cake, this one decorated with 8 tiny stars representing the constellation Lily had been studying. The family gathered close, Noah insisting on sitting beside his cousin, Amanda slipping her arm around Ethan's waist, Rosa documenting everything with her new camera. "Make another wish," Elena told her daughter, smoothing back a strand of Lily's dark hair. Lily looked around at the faces surrounding her. Her mother, healthy and strong again. Her brother Ethan, who had kept his promise. Her cousin Noah, who shared his toys and his father without hesitation. Amanda, who braided her hair and taught her to swim. Rosa, who brought homemade empanadas and stories of Chile. And all the others who had become part of their extended family. "I don't need to wish for anything else," she declared. "I already have everything important." But she closed her eyes and blew out the candles anyway, understanding that some wishes weren't about getting something new, but preserving the precious things you already had. As night fell over Lake Washington, the new telescope was set up on the dock. The family took turns peering at Jupiter and its moons, at Saturn's rings, at the countless stars that had always been there, waiting to be discovered by a child who had once had no safe place to sleep. Elena, watching her daughter excitedly identify constellations for Noah, leaned against Ethan's shoulder. "When I was in that place," she said quietly, "drugged and confused, the stars helped me remember who I was. I couldn't see them through the windows, but I could remember how they looked over Santiago when Lily was a baby. How I taught her their names in Spanish while she fell asleep. And now she'll learn their English names too," Ethan said, "and probably their scientific classifications, knowing Lily." Elena laughed softly. "She's so much like Richard. That curiosity, that determination." "And like you," Ethan added. "Your strength, your compassion." "I wasn't always strong," Eleanor admitted. "When they took her away, when I couldn't find her." Her voice faltered. "Those were dark days. But you survived them, both of you did, and found your way back to each other. With your help," Elena turned to face him fully. "I've never properly thanked you, Ethan, for believing Lily when no one else would. For fighting for us against your own family, for giving us a home, security, belonging." "You don't need to thank me," Ethan said simply. "We're family. This is what family does." On the dock, Lily called excitedly, "Mom, Ethan, come quick. I found the Andromeda Galaxy." As they joined the children at the telescope, Amanda capturing the moment on her phone, Ethan thought about the question Lily had asked him earlier. Was he still sad sometimes? Yes, but not in the same consuming way. The grief that had once threatened to drown him had transformed into something more complex and ultimately more valuable. An appreciation for the fragility of connection, the preciousness of those we love, and the unexpected ways we find our way back to each other across even the darkest separations. The company he had built would continue to evolve and grow. The family he had found, or that had found him, would face its own challenges and triumphs in the years ahead. But on this autumn evening, with stars emerging above and the people he loved gathered close, Ethan Harrison knew with certainty that he had found his true inheritance. Not in stock options or corporate assets, but in a child's outstretched hand offering bread to a stranger in the rain. In the courage of a mother who never stopped loving her daughter across enforced separation. In the resilience of a family reclaiming its truth from those who sought to bury it. "Look," Lily whispered, her eye still pressed to the telescope. "If you watch long enough, you can see that we're all moving. All the stars, all the planets, nothing stays still." "That's right," Ethan confirmed, resting his hand on her small shoulder. "Everything in the universe is in motion. Always changing, always evolving. But some things stay the same," Lily said with the simple certainty of childhood. "Like how much we love each other. That doesn't change, even when we're apart." As the lake reflected the emerging stars and the family continued their astronomical exploration, Ethan silently acknowledged the profound wisdom in his sister's observation. Through all the changes, separations, and reunions, through grief and joy, loss and discovery, the capacity for love remained constant, a fixed point in an ever-shifting universe, guiding them home to each other again and again. Fim da Historia, Dear. Listeners, we hope the journey of Ethan, Lily, and Elena has touched your hearts. Their story reminds us that sometimes our greatest strengths emerge from our deepest pain, and that true family can be found in the most unexpected moments of compassion. To continue experiencing powerful stories of reunion, resilience, and redemption, we've created a special playlist you can find by clicking the link to your left. If this story moved you, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Every day we bring you unique narratives that explore the complexity of human connections. Don't miss our upcoming content, and please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support allows us to keep bringing these emotional journeys to life. We look forward to sharing more stories that remind us of the healing power of family in all its forms.